Hi, everybody. This is John from AU Pack Mule, and today we have a very special surprise. We are on Game of Thrones Season 8 live streaming with Costume Co. And here is Heidi. She is a costume extraordinaire, and we're going to talk about all of the costumes coming out on Season 8 for Game of Thrones. So make sure you stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I'd like to say hello to Heidi. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me, John.
It's my total pleasure, no doubt about it. It's so exciting to have you on the channel. I've been on your channel, I think, 3 times, and this is the first time you've been here. I apologize for that. So thank you
Yes,
so much
I
for being
kind of
here.
I kind of feel like I invited myself on,
Oh, no. Oh, no.
but it kind of
It's
worked out.
we know how busy you are with everything that's going on in your life. So I am so excited that you're able to be here.
Thank you. Are you wearing a Captain America hoodie?
I am. It is one of
Awesome.
my favorite. I don't know what it is about this polyester, but I love this sweatshirt. It's like a pajama top.
Yeah.
It feels so incredible.
It's probably like a micro blend or something. Like some of the newer micro blends are really, really cozy and soft.
It says plain old 100% polyester,
Yep.
but it's just so awesome.
Yeah. And it looks nice on you. The blue looks good on you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Speaking of awesome, look at all the great people that we have in the chat. Britt the Change is here. Britt has, I've just been following her for a long time, so thanks for being here. Linda R. from Southern California, my friend, thank you very much for being here. Mary Jade Stark Walker and Herman Bum's mom.
I love that name.
Herman is a big follower of yours, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a girl. It's
Oh, it
Cindy.
is. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, though, no. I know you would know by her name.
Right,
She's got
right.
an awesome name. And Xenon Faye, she's also one of my girls.
Nice.
I think it's Xenon. I don't think you say X. I think you say Xenon. You don't pronounce the X, I think.
Sounds right.
She can tell me if I'm wrong. Hi, everyone. And I know Mary Jade as well. I've seen her in other streams. I just wanted to tell you, I was in your stream last night with Lauren. What a great stream you had.
Oh,
it was
thank you.
so fun. And Lauren was awesome. And I only just met her. Like, this is so weird. I just met her like 2 weeks ago. She asked me to come on her show because of JR, who I just met as well through, indie
chat one.
Yeah, it's like this one incestuous family. Not like Jamie.
That's your term, not
type.
mine.
Yeah, not Jamie Cersei incest type, but yeah. So it was just I met her through JR, and then I went on her show, and then she was on, and then I was in another. I think I was in your chat, another guest you had. And then that was last week. It was a really good interview you did. I can't remember what her name was. She was a great guest.
I had Monero Geek TV, and then I also had T Baby.
It was T Baby. Yeah.
T Baby's been on the Small Council for ever, and yeah, she's awesome.
And so Lauren was there, and then she was your guest yesterday, and she was great. And I love hearing her say everything and with her Scottish brogue.
I actually every live stream I've done so far has been awesome. I really am so grateful that anyone would come on my channel. It's just a lot of fun to talk about Game of Thrones. So again, it's just super awesome. Everybody has their own unique perspective. I call them Game of Thrones glasses. If you're a Norse mythology person, you're going to see all Norse mythology in your Game of Thrones. You being a costume person, I can't imagine talking about anything else but costumes. So that's one of the reasons why I love talking with many different Game of Thrones watchers.
Yeah, no, I definitely have. I'm a little bit tunnel vision when it comes to that. Actually, I mean, I can sit back and watch the show and let go, try and let go of things. But oftentimes I'll know it ahead of time, like how, they've just released all the pictures. But sometimes I have to just go back and look at it and study it and, analyze it a bit more. But I do try to just sit back. Like years ago, I worked in a restaurant, and for the first while, I could not go out to eat without thinking, oh my gosh, did they drop this on the floor? Like, have they spit in my food? I couldn't enjoy a meal because I was just so paranoid about everything. But then after a while, I got to the point where I'm like, okay, I can chill out here. I can actually go out and have a meal without obsessing about it.
Another great content creator is Idiot of the Day, Jeff. and his wife JoJo do a stream every Sunday afternoon. But Jeff is one of those guys that will stream every day if you let him. So go check him out. He is always on and greeting people and making everybody feel so welcome. So thanks for being here, Jeff. I appreciate your time. He's a Game of Thrones watcher as well.
That's awesome.
But sometimes he'll say things like the Dragon Lady or the guy up north, you know. So you kind of have to figure out what he's saying. But yeah. I love it.
I just wanted to say to Susan, she commented on my setup and my background, and I was just telling her, and I'm so glad you commented on this, because before we went live, I was explaining to John about my setup, and it's been a work in progress, but I just ended up adding these like cute little like twinkly lights to my backdrop, and I just think it just adds a little bit of sparkle. And then I've got my Dani there, so she's on the throne, the dragon, or the Dragonstone throne. Yeah. So thank you for commenting. And I was telling John, this is more for the girls, but I'm wearing red lipstick in honor of the color coming back to Game of Thrones. As we all saw, maybe you saw today, Cersei was wearing a red dress. So I'm wearing red lipstick in honor of the color returning to Westeros.
Yeah. I just wanted to say thanks for doing that, because I was really excited to see that red dress this morning. I don't know if you saw it, but we're going to definitely talk about it.
Yes.
James Cox just came by. Say hello. Thank you for coming by. Linda R, like I said, is here. DJ just popped in. Travis Michael, Pinklash 007, and so many more. Thank you for being here. Heidi is a costume expert. And when I say that, I just mean compared to me, almost everybody's an expert. So I'll let her describe what her experiences with costume is, if you don't mind.
Sure. So, okay. Well, my background, anybody who doesn't know me, my channel is called Costume Co, and my background's in theater. So I went to theater school and studied. I'm from Canada. Like, it's actually like -10 here right now, Celsius. With the wind chill, it's like -19 or something crazy. So I went to theater school here. I worked in theater for many years. I also owned my own company where I produced custom costumes. And so I had a studio. I worked with a couple of other designers. And then I also worked in film in Toronto, doing mostly like background performers and that type of thing. I wasn't working on principals as much. And so then when I had my kids, I kind of had to, things were getting a little bit too difficult. So I moved away from that. And then, I don't know, I started watching Game of Thrones, and I thought, I love the show so much. I love the costumes so much that I thought, I wonder if anybody's doing a channel on analysis of costume. And I did a bit of research, and sure enough, no one was. So I thought, hey, this would be a wonderful opportunity. And, I don't just do Game of Thrones, but that's sort of my favorite thing to talk about.
Well, I'm glad that you do. One of the things that when I first met you was when you were talking about reviewing shows. I was like, Alienist. And it's a show that nobody watches. Everybody should be checking it out.
It's coming back. They're going to do another one. And I actually, to tell you, to be honest with you, I did a part 1. I still have another one to do that it's on my back burner. I've got a couple, like I've got American Gods. I've got a few others that are still on my back burner. They just keep getting pushed because, Game of Thrones is going to be out so soon. So I have all this stuff I'm trying to do and just, get to before the new season's out.
Yeah.
So I will show some love to my, to these other shows. Like, I really want to do The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which is, if anybody hasn't seen it, it's such a great show.
Yeah. It's a new show on Netflix, right? Is that Amazon Prime?
It's Prime, yeah. And we have Prime. Like, I don't know how it works in the States, but in Canada, if you're a Prime customer, you get it. It's part of your package. So we order a lot from there. So it just worked out. And we just watched, there's a couple of new shows. What's the other one we watched? I watched one with my mom. It was sort of like a Downton Abbey type show. She really enjoyed it. So there is some really great shows.
Not Outlander, I hope.
Well, no, there's
that would be awkward.
I am watching Outlander with my mother.
With your mom? Oh my God,
totally. Yeah.
Does she go like this?
No, she
Close your
doesn't.
eyes.
She's like, oh, he's so handsome. Because I said, Mom, you got to watch this with me because you're just gonna
Oh
love.
no,
She's like in her 80s.
that's
She's
hilarious.
hilarious. She's always like, she really likes Rufus Sewell, who was in he's in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. You guys will probably know him. He's from Braveheart. I think he's in Braveheart. What was he in? He always plays a bad guy. But she's like, oh,
Gotcha.
he's so handsome. Who is that devil? He's just so handsome. She's like 83.
Nice.
Yeah. So I take that. I take that from her, I guess. Yeah. So Linda says Outlander is great.
Yeah, actually, Jeff and JoJo, we were talking about on Sunday on their live stream, who has the best bum, Danny or Jamie? Danny Targaryen, Daenerys Targaryen, or Jamie from Outlander.
That's a
And
hard. Oh yeah, that's a hard one.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
That was
that's
a
a
long
hard one.
conversation.
That's a hard one. Yeah. I don't know that I could pick.
No pun intended, I'm sure.
No. Yeah. So yeah, so
All the girls are gonna say Jamie, of course.
I think I don't know. They're both pretty handsome. He used to be on a show. I don't know if you ever saw Nikolai Coster-Waldau. He used to be on a show years ago called New Amsterdam, I think. I don't know if anyone ever saw it. And I remember when I first saw that, I was like, who is this handsome guy? Oh my gosh. And like, I knew he was Dutch. He had a little bit of he was playing a Dutch character, so it worked out.
Actually, he was pretty well known for that compared to, before Game of Thrones, right? But it was local. Yeah.
It was more local, yeah. So I think New Amsterdam was like sort of his first American show. So he played like a detective in the current day. And then they would do these flashbacks to the 1700s, where it would be 17th century, actually, I think. It would have been like New Amsterdam. So he was living in the past and in the present. So I guess it was supposed to be a time travel thing. I'm not exactly sure. I should revisit that, but I think it only did one season.
Susan Dunkel, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. That was very nice of you, totally generous. And I didn't expect that. So thank you very much. She asked, so excited for this live stream. Given the recent photos, does Sansa's costume have fish scales? Interesting. We'll get to that for sure. Yeah. And then does the Night King costume tell us anything? And if there's anybody that's going to tell us, it's going to be Heidi.
Well, I don't know. I'm probably like regarding the Night King, I'm probably just where everyone else is. I can only speculate. I will say this. I definitely don't think him and Bran are tied together. Michelle Clapton's actually come out outright and stated that their costumes aren't the same. Mm-hmm. And I mean, and like the little epaulets that he wears, a lot of the characters have those, like Ned Stark has them. A lot of the people in Winterfell have them. So, but in terms of I have done a video on symbolism where I've talked about the chevron perhaps having, being a warrior symbol, like sort of like the Spartans would have it on their shields. So I said that could potentially be a symbol of being a warrior. And then it was actually not even me. It was the last harpy.
Not to cut you off, but the chevron you're talking about is the neck piece. Right?
No, sorry. The chevron is like an upside down V. It's actually his breastplate that has an upside down V. Okay. So if you look at it, it's all like, a chevron is like two lines that sort of meet to make the roof of a house. That's sort of where the name comes from. Chev meant the roof of a house, apparently. And then later, or goat, meaning cheese, I guess.
No, I understand the chevron, what a chevron is.
Sure. You just didn't know where it was. Yeah. So it's on his breastplate. Like if you look at him and there's just a series of them going down.
Okay. Similar to Brienne's old one.
Exactly. Yeah. Brienne has it as well. Right. So that's very interesting that you point that out. So, and then the thing on the neck, it wasn't me who came up with this. It was actually the last harpy who said that looked like the three-eyed raven. Like if you put it over over the raven itself with the three eyes, it lines up perfectly. So I don't know if that's true. Yeah. So
maybe we'll find out.
The only thing I disagreed with Michelle about is that she said that their costumes are supposed to look like found objects, like they would have found like some metal and then bent it and made it into. But I'm like, oh, please, like that does not look like found objects. What I do think it looks kind of like is the sparring armor that they wear at, at the wall. The sparring armor that Jon wears in season 1. It looks kind of like that. It's got a very Japanese samurai kind of feel to it. But then there's a bit of an Egyptian feel as well, because you've got that tab in the front. So I think she's sort of just tried to do an amalgamation of all types of things, maybe because they're such ancient ones that she's just, wanted to pull things from all different directions. So there could potentially be a little bit of the North in there, but then I think there's other influences as well.
I always thought it was the shard that actually was shoved into his chest.
Yeah, like a lot of people have said that as well. Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. That actually is a really great point. The other guys though
It's an
have different
assumption.
shapes. Have you seen that? Have you seen the other guys that their shapes are different?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's one
Because
of
they
those
don't
things.
have dragon glass shoved in their chest.
They don't have
They're
dragon glass.
burned.
So that was another, I think that was another good point. So the yeah, it's hard to know. Unfortunately, one of the things I found with Michelle, she talks a lot. This is the costume designer, by the way, everyone, Michelle Clapton. She talks a lot about the main cast, but sometimes she doesn't talk as much about the lesser cast or the side characters. So
Second tier. Yeah.
second tier. Like I'm always really interested in the armor. I love about the armor. So she doesn't tend to talk about that. And Simon Brindle, who used to be the weapons or the armor person, I don't think he's on the show anymore. I looked up. So we
I
don't
thought it
get a
was
lot of
Tommy
information.
Dunn that did all the weapons.
Tommy does the weapons, and then Simon Brindle does the armor itself, like so the
Oh, okay.
breastplates and
Okay.
all the helmets and all that type of thing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Although Michelle oversees the department. So apparently like everything is in one giant building. Like they
Right.
work in one giant massive building, so she can just go from department to department. And then of course they have their on-set people as well.
Sure.
Yeah. So
Well,
did you
I
want me
don't
to
know
talk
if you're
about
ready.
Sansa or yeah, I'm ready. Let's
What I'm
do
going
it.
to do is I'm going to do a screen share, hopefully.
Okay.
And
Now,
yep.
one thing I was going to say, guys, a lot of this stuff is just my own personal like interpretation. So, it doesn't mean I'm right. So
Of
you can
course
totally
you're
disagree.
right.
You can totally disagree with me. I don't want to cause any, fights in the chat or anything.
We will not be fighting, I guarantee you.
Yeah. Now I wanted to tell you. So that picture there, the one of me with the guy, that's my husband. So when we go out in public, I make him wear a mask.
You do what now?
No, I'm totally kidding. No, I was just joking. That circle
I
picture
see.
of me. That's
Okay.
me with
Yeah,
my
gotcha.
husband, but he's wearing a
Nice.
mask. We were actually at a party there, a photo booth.
So I have your Twitter page.
Yeah.
Which when I saw this, I almost freaked out because this whole big picture is all from today. And
Yes.
when I just saw color, and I don't know if you just did, but I just zoomed into every color, like especially Cersei. But where would you like to start? Because I'm gonna go where you tell me to go.
We can just do by character. I have it kind of broken down. Like, okay, so first off, like I mean, a lot of the information I've been sort of compiling is based upon like, there was a photo shoot that they released some images, and then there were their posters, and then now we have these new pictures, which I've just sort of started looking at. So I'm kind of putting all the information together based on that. So we can just go in order if you want. What do you want to do?
I'm gonna actually tell everybody before I get too far that all of your social media information is in the description below. So her Facebook page, her Twitter, obviously, and everything that you have on your YouTube page is on here, including your merch page. So there's a lot of information there that will be more follow-up, I hope. So make sure you go and follow her on everything that's there, because you'll learn a lot. I guarantee you.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're very
That's really
welcome.
kind of you. Well, I'm really active on Twitter, so I'm, if anybody ever wants to talk about this, anything about costumes, I do have a Facebook group called Game of Thrones Costume Analysis, and I link it usually. I usually put a link under my videos, but there's only like 20 of us in the group. But it's basically a bunch of us from Twitter. We just got together, and I've got a couple of moderators, so we just sort of talk about Game of Thrones costumes. So if anybody wants to join that, they're welcome to come. And also on Twitter, you know, if you comment to me or ask anything or say something to me, I usually respond. I'm very active there. So if you have a comment or, you know, a thought.
Plexi asked, how is your costume book coming? I didn't know you had a costume book.
I do. Thanks for
Oh my
asking.
goodness.
Okay. Oh my gosh. It is it's nuts. I have a costume book. It's coming out in April around this time, you know, the new season. And it's called Game of Thrones. I think it's called Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, an illustrated costume guide. And what it is my friend Patrick and I are doing it together. He's doing all the illustrations and I'm doing the writing part. And what it's going to be is all the major characters, their costumes from seasons 1 to 7. So obviously I don't have season 8 in there. And at the moment it's going to be an ebook that will be available for a very, you know, like it probably won't be very much. And then I'll just sell it through my website. And then eventually, if there's enough demand, I'll do it as a print book. But I just got wind that there is an official HBO book coming out as well. I think it was Xenon Faye who posted that.
Nice.
Because the book's coming out that soon. Yes, it is. So Michelle Xenon actually is the one who leaked this. That Michelle on Instagram mentioned that there is an official book. So I don't know what that book is about. I don't know anything about it. If it's an HBO book, but what had happened was last summer I contacted HBO to ask them if I could get permission to use certain images, like of Michelle's.
Mm-hmm.
She was lovely. She responded to me, and so did Michelle Carragher, who does the embroidery. But what they said was, we're doing a book, so unfortunately, we can't give you permission. So that's why I decided to go by the way of an illustrator, without any, you know, using the faces of the actors or anything. So, and they're just beautiful. Like wait till you see the work that Patrick's done. Like I've been completely blown away. And he has such a great eye. Like he sees things that I don't even see. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even notice that before. Like seriously. Like I looked at a picture today of Sansa's dress from last season. I was like, wait a second, I never noticed that before. It's just impossible for me to notice everything. So he's got a very keen eye. And then it's also going to be a guide, like, you know, for fabrics. Like I have a lot of the fabrics that are in the show, that are used in the show, and jewelry. So it'll be kind of a guide for that too. So like, what kind of jewelry did they wear? What kind of fabric was used? Some of the techniques that were used, that type of thing.
Very exciting.
A fun little guide.
Who do you want to start with?
Oh, it doesn't matter. We could start from the top.
Okay. Well, the very first page is basically the one with Sansa.
Yeah.
I mean, excuse me, not Sansa, Arya.
Yes.
And then to the right, we have Tyrion, Jon, and of course Emilia Clarke as Daenerys. Yeah. The Dragon Lady, as Jeff and
That's so funny. Now, one thing I want to mention to everybody, if you're on Twitter, this is so fun. So Game of Thrones has done this thing that if you do hashtag the character's name, you'll see when you go down later, that they do a little image of each of the characters. Has anybody noticed that?
I have not.
It's so cute. So anyway, like here, I didn't do it for Arya because I had forgotten these ones, but you'll see it when we go down. So the first thing I want to say, this picture of Maisie, everyone says she looks really beautiful. I agree. And I think that it's like, she's sort of a little bit more soft looking. Don't you think? Mm-hmm. Like her hair's not as tight and she's wearing, and I think they put a bit of makeup on her.
Definitely.
But yeah, a little bit of makeup. So the thing that I did notice is that this costume is from last season. You probably will remember it from last season. It's just a really good quality costume. And she had sort of different variations on it. Like she had one with a leather skirt, and then she had one with like a blue doublet. Like, you know, they're all slightly different. And then, but
her costume last year almost looked identical to Ned's.
It does.
First season.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even her hair being pulled back tightly. So it's interesting that it's a bit softer here. That's, I did think. Now, I don't know. This is probably like Entertainment Weekly. I mentioned this on in Deep Geek, that when they have the photographer might style it slightly different. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if she's going to look like this in the show, but the poster, the costume she's wearing in the poster is actually different. So the one in the poster, what do I have to say about that here? Yeah, so it's the same silhouette, but it's darker and heavier. So the cloak is the same, but you might have noticed that on the side collar of her cloak, it's brown leather, whereas in the poster, it looks to be black leather. And then her doublet or vest is actually, they look like little, either like lamellar, which is kind of like a hardened leather that's been like treated, or even metal, like little square metal bits on her armor. And but we still have the square symbols all over her costume. So the skirt has the squares, and the vest slash doublet has the squares, which I had sort of stated in my symbolism video is just a sign of like her being really grounded, you know, like just like a building. Just she's just like, you know, cemented to the ground type thing.
Right.
So and then Tyrion, you can't really
Before
see
you
what
go there,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
could you go back to the cape, this section right here? You know, it is so different design. I mean, everybody has to pin their cape so that, you know, it doesn't fly off of them when they're walking or whatever. But
Yeah,
in this
well,
particular case, it looks like she is ready to go to battle.
yeah, absolutely. Well, it kind of looks like what I call it. It's sort of the shape like a Greek chlamys, which is a style of cake that they wore in ancient Greece. But something New Rock Stars stated, I don't know if you guys watch them, and sometimes, like, you know, it's kind of like candy watching them, but it's sort of fun at the same time. But he made a good point. It's open so that she can get access to her weapons really easily, right? Like she doesn't have to deal with all of that. Like you say, Jamie has a cape that's kind of like that, which I call it like the Stannis cape. It's just like Stannis's cape, so it just sort of covers your shoulders and your back, but it doesn't really cover the front. It doesn't cover your weapons. So I think that's a really good point. So like you say, she's ready. She's ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then the skirts, I mean, even though they're sort of like decorative, they're intended to just help with blows against the legs. Like that's what that's for. It's a very Japanese style of costume. The all of the Lannisters wear them, and actually some other cultures in Westeros wear them as well. They not Lannisters, sorry, the Lannisters and the Starks,
Right.
and so they can either be leather or canvas or something like that. And they are just designed to keep your legs from being cut, which is a very sort of Japanese style.
And she's, you know, in full pants, so it's not like the skirt is a skirt.
Yeah,
it's more of a covering.
it's a covering, exactly. So all the men, like every man wears pants, and then they, like Ned Stark or Jon Snow or any of them, then they wear the skirt, which usually, like in medieval times, it would have been what would be called a gambeson, which is like a full shirt made of linen or something that you would wear under your armor. But in this case, they've kind of gone with a bit of a Japanese style. So it's a four-paned skirt. So it's like two pieces in the front and two pieces in the back. And so if you look at Jon Snow, even when he's wearing his armor, he also has these tab skirts underneath. And Tyrion has them, and in this season, Jamie has them. So it's definitely a Westeros look, not just necessarily the North. We see it in the South as well.
So do you want to go down to the next full picture, or do you want to break down the pictures of Tyrion, Jon, and Dany?
It's up to you, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I'd like to go to the big picture because those really show the full color.
Yeah.
You started with Varys.
Yes. So Varys,
I'm not a Targaryen.
Yeah. So if you look here in this picture, you'll see where it says #Varys, and then there's a little bald-headed man. You see that?
Right there. Yeah, he's got his own emoji.
Isn't that cute? And then Game of Thrones, of course, has the Iron Throne. So it's really fun. So if you do #any of the major characters, the only one who didn't get one was Gilly. She didn't get one. Gilly.
No, that's okay. Gilly's what they say in the show. So yeah.
So all right. So with Varys, he has a different costume in the promo images and on the poster. So the one on the poster is kind of like a gray cloth, but it does have the same silhouette. And then he's got these sort of, the trim is covered with I called it like a mermaid scale, but that's actually the technical name for it. Like when you're buying like certain trims and stuff, they call it mermaid scale. It's kind of like a teardrop. So it was funny. He had that last year and someone said, oh my gosh, merman confirmed. But I didn't even know anything about that. So I was like, what does that mean? And then someone was making a comment about how he has his hand inside of his coat. I believe that's actually just the actor, his business. It was funny. I read this interview, Conleith, I think his name is.
Yep.
In this interview with him, he used to have these big billowy sleeves, and he says he's always reading between takes, so he would tuck his paperback into his sleeves. So I noticed on this costume that Michelle did add pockets for him. So I think that's just a sort of thing. Now, I love this costume. I said it's my second favorite costume of the picture so far, and I think it's because of all the color. I had made a joke. I don't like if you're wondering what's going on with the blue. I was saying that maybe he's like it might be directly tied to Khal Drogo, because originally Dany, when she was in Marine, she had a lot of blue incorporated into her clothing, if you remember that. And Michelle Clapton had said that's sort of an homage to Khal Drogo, because the blue is supposed to be like this mineral that, like, they put on their face.
Right.
And it's a mineral that's sort of readily available in to the Dothraki. And so she added that little bit of blue to Dany's costumes just to sort of like show her sort of still that she's sort of loyal to Khal Drogo and obviously the Dothraki. So it could be a carryover from that. Because also I noticed that Tyrion has he has a bit of blue in a couple of his costumes as well, and they're both obviously in her camp.
There's another costume similarity with Tyrion in this particular one around the neck, right?
Yeah, and again, that's sort of like, that is like, okay, I was one of the girls, Vanessa, she's in my Twitter, she said that she thought it looked kind of Russian, but a viewer last year pointed out to me that his costume and Dany's costume from season 7 look like a Mongolian deal, which is a type of coat that they wear in Mongolia, like a folk costume, and which kind of made sense to me. So it's sort of like, and they have what's called a summer deal and a winter deal. Deal is spelled D-E-E-L. So a winter deal would be a coat kind of like this. It'd be a heavier fabric, and usually it would be lined in fur, and it would be asymmetrical. It would be sort of have that Asian sort of, like, Mongolia sort of borders Russia, and it's in it's sort of North in Asia. So it sort of has like these influences. And they're kind of like a nomadic people, these people who wear these particular types of clothing. So oftentimes they'd be made out of animal skins or local materials. So I thought it did kind of have that look. And if you look at Dany's, it has that same sort of, leftover right sort of overlap. And his costume and Dany's costume have that sort of same style. So I think, again, it shows sort of his loyalty to her at this point. There were some people making comments to me about Tyrion today. I was pretty upset about it. About how he's like betraying Dany and gone over to Cersei's camp. And I'm like, I sure hope not. I was pretty upset about that.
Well, that's a theory video that'll be for another day, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can't see that based on his clothing at this point. There's nothing in his clothing that says that to me at this point. And in fact, if anything, it's the opposite.
Exactly.
Based on his clothes. So this one, oh my God. I actually, I said that this was my absolute favorite out of all the
Gilly making you giddy?
She is making me giddy. Absolutely. I don't know what you guys think about it. It's so pretty. Everyone in my group was like, this is so pretty. She's had to endure rags. Like, for how many seasons was she living in rags? And then they put her in those god-awful Tully dresses, which I, bitched and complained about. And then people were trying to defend it to me. And I was just like, nope. I'm sorry. Sometimes Costume Co., I have to draw my line in the sand. And that's where I drew my line in the sand, was over the Tully dresses that look to me like really ugly 1980s prom dresses or something terrible like that, made out of like something from Fabricland. I don't know if you guys have Fabricland, but anyways,
I'm assuming that's a shade. A little bit of throwing the.
I am throwing shade.
Yeah. Perfect.
So this is something that is so like, you know, I looked at this today and I'm like, oh, she looks like Belle from, you know, Beauty and the Beast. She's just so beautiful. And, you know, and I love all the textures and her hair looks really nice. Like someone on Twitter today, it was Ruin, posted this picture of her washing and blow drying her hair. I just love everybody. They're so funny. Someone wrote, whoa, my girl looked great in her 80s prom dresses, John.
Oh no.
Yeah. Well, I went to my prom in the 80s and I made my own dress. I attempted to make like a Molly Ringwald type dress. So, you know, I don't know. I'm not trying to judge 80s dresses. I'm just saying that the Tullys, I didn't think it was appropriate for them to look like they were dressed in 80s prom dresses, if that makes any sense. So I absolutely love this. I haven't had a chance to do a full-on analysis of it, but it's, you know, it's got lots of textures and layers, and there's the fur, and
love the trim. Yeah,
the trim is beautiful, and she's got these great little knit mitts, which, you know, we don't really see any knitting in Game of Thrones. There's like Outlander is full of knits, whereas there's almost no knitting. I think like Shireen was on the only ones I think who I remember having any knitting. Yep. Like everything is sewn. So it was a really,
unless you want to consider the netting on some of the giants, which was like a fishnet.
Yes, that's true. Yes. Yeah. They kind of like, I saw this picture of them kind of just, they were just sort of going round and round and round. You know, they were just sort of like doing twine and doing all kinds of different textures going round and round.
Let's get to the coup de grace, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Cersei's costume is unbelievable.
Yes. Okay. So I want to do a shout out to my good friend Asun, who, I don't know if she's here. She's fantastic. She's like my go-to girl. I talk to her all the time. So do you remember when you were saying, there was another YouTuber who did a video on Cersei's, you know, shoulder epaulettes, pauldrons. That's a proper name, actually.
Gray Area was talking about them being gold and then her dress being black.
Okay. So
and we were talking about that.
Sure. So okay, so firstly, this is a second look. So she has another dress. So what happened was when the posters came out, I'm like, what is going on there? Why does her dress look red? Because the other one is definitely black, her first look, the one that we saw in the promo pictures, the one that we saw, where else did we see it? There was a leaked photo of her where she was wearing it. And so I was like, I don't know if those are gold. So I did a poll on Twitter about it. Did you see that, John, that I did a poll? And it came out that most people thought they were silver. One of the girls said they looked like they might be nickel, which I was like, yeah, they could be nickel. They're not quite silver, you know? So it was hard to tell. So what I'm not sure about is if these are the same ones that she's wearing with the other costume, but undeniably, they're not pure gold. They're not pure silver. They're kind of a sort of in between, right? They're sort of like, I would say they've got a bit of a patina, you know, like maybe brushed with a bit of gold. So definitely the gold is coming back, but it's still not that full on gold. And I mean,
you can see in the tab on the neck piece, on the collar, that it definitely has a patina and also a brushed look.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like not perfectly gold. And, you know, I've always been like, I never understood why she had the silver, to be honest with you. I was kind of against that. And I didn't like all the black. And what did I have to say here about that? I said something. I wrote it down just so I could tell you what I thought.
While you're looking this up, I definitely wanted to say that this is more of the Lannister look that we're getting. As a matter of fact, in some of the other pictures, you'll see the Lannister banners in the background, and you can tell that she's done a pretty much a makeover of all of King's Landing, where she's really identifying the Lannister in charge.
Yeah. I can't find where I wrote it. Let me see. Okay, it'll come to me soon. What I was going to say. But so my point is that she had been wearing black for, you know, a couple of seasons. And one of the things, I actually said this to my husband today. So when she gets visited by Euron at the, you know, in the throne room in King's Landing, I was saying, okay, like if you were in mourning perpetual mourning. You can't actually, at least in terms of medieval times, if that's what we're looking at. I realize this is its own world and they create their own rules, but you normally cannot court a marriage. Like you cannot take what do they call it? Marriage proposals because you're in mourning. So
To
I
be
said it
betrothed, you mean?
to be betrothed, exactly. So, like for instance, I was saying like when Scarlett O'Hara went to a ball wearing a red gown while she was supposed to be in mourning. That was like a terrible, terrible thing to do.
And
So
that was just 200 years ago.
yeah.
So.
So a lot of the fans have been saying to me, well, it makes sense to me that she's in black. She should be in black. And I'm like, no, it doesn't make sense that she's in black. First of all, and silver, because silver is not her metal. Her metal is gold. It's on their sigil. And actually in heraldry, you can't even mix elements. You can't even mix gold with silver. You're not even allowed to do that. So it's crimson and gold. So, but I understood about the mourning. So I thought for me that once she started to allow people to court her, like you're on, but marriage proposals or betrothals or what have you, that she should have switched. So it makes sense to me now that she is switching. It's just for me, I felt it should have happened sooner. And then I like to see her returning to the gold. I wasn't crazy, obviously, about the Queen's Guard either being like, it looked very Darth Vader to me. I didn't like it.
Very much
so. If they are returning more to, more of the bronze or, golden or the bit of the red, I would much prefer that. Lily says, yay. I think she agrees with me. I don't expect everyone to agree with me. This is just my own personal opinion. But anyway.
Of course you're going to agree with the expert of all costumes.
But I love it. So, so I'm expecting, I'm not sure which order this is going to happen though. I have a feeling the red will be a little bit later. She'll probably start off the season with the black and then she'll move into the red. That's my personal feeling. And then when we have a full picture of it, I can describe it a bit more. I don't know if we have a full picture of it.
Of which one?
Of Cersei's gown, of her full outfit. I don't know if I put a picture.
Well, let's go back. We can go back to this, which has the whole. You can see, especially this part of the dress down here.
Yeah. So what I've looked at it. So what I figured it out is it's actually a gown, like an undergown with like a mock turtleneck, and then there's an overgown, and the overgown is kind of crisscross laced on, and it's the undergown that has those X's like that are all made out of the rivets. So what that's supposed to be is actually armor. So if anybody knows what a brigandine is, I don't know, John, if you know a brigandine, I've talked about it before. What it is, it's actually like the Stark armor is kind of a form of a brigandine. So you've got metal plates in behind or sandwiched in between the leather, and then you have studs that hold all of the plates together. So, but I'm like, I don't know if she would actually have plates all in there. Like it would be really heavy. But a good example was Renly Baratheon had an actual brigandine, like apparently, according to, I think again, it was Simon Brindle, who was the armor person. In season 2, they made an actual brigandine for him, and then they covered it with velvet. So a lot of times brigandines would be covered with a beautiful type of cloth, like a velvet or a brocade or just a really nice fabric. And then the little rivets would often be done in like sort of in a three pattern, like with, dot, dot, dot kind of thing. So you'll see along the cuffs of her sleeves that she's got them. You'll see them on the bottom of her hem that she's got them. And then of course,
I'm going to go back to the hangouts and then see if I can find a good example of that.
Sure.
How's that sound?
Sounds good. Hi, everybody. Are y'all with us?
Everybody's asking questions. So
are they? Okay. Maybe I should go through and see if any.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah. Rini says it's nice to see her look clean for a change. You mean like clean lines?
Seriously? Or was she talking about Maisie?
I'm not sure. Maybe she was talking about Maisie. Oh yeah. So I've gone back too far. Sorry. I think she might have been talking about Gilly actually. I've gone back way too far.
Oh,
Gilly was the only one that didn't get to speak. It is sad. Oh, she didn't get to speak at the con? Ugh, what's wrong with those people?
Gotcha. Okay.
Oh, she's
She makes sense.
Plexi Bertrand says Gilly looks like Sansa in her eerie blue dress coat. Yes. Well, her hair is kind of similar, I think, right? Cersei's shoulders look like trilobites. Is that an insect?
I have not heard of trilobite.
I was going to
That's
get
way out
to
of my.
that. I'm going to get to her armor. Cersei is evil, but I love her anyway. Yes. You can still embrace the evil.
I love Lena Headey.
Oh, she's amazing.
So that's I definitely don't like Cersei, but that's a different story.
Oh, yeah. Plexi Bertrand says, who is the most in need of a makeover? Despite being pretty, Melisandre gets little variation. Yeah. I was going to make a comment about that. I don't know if I have her picture up, but she's wearing like an old costume from season 5. She didn't even get a new costume. I'm not sure what that's all about. No, I didn't read the books. I am just a show watcher, so I think the armor is very good. Actually, I'm going to do a video. We're going to do a video on the armor. The armor is pretty good. I did a live stream not too long ago with this guy named Red Wolf. He was really awesome. He came on. He's a weapons expert, and we talked all about the armor.
I was on that stream. Yeah,
oh yeah,
we were talking about
he
the
was
fullers
amazing
on the swords. Yeah.
Yes, like he knows weapons too, right? So I'm like, oh my god, I'm totally lost. Except for when it was funny because when I used to do theater, I was always sort of the weapons person. Like I always ended up being the weapons person, the armor person. I'm like, how did I end up being like the military expert? But it was sort of funny because, like for instance, John Molo, who designed Star Wars, he's he's a brilliant designer, did Star Wars and Empire. He actually was a military expert. He passed away. And so it was sort of funny because he started out as a consultant, as a military expert on many movies. And then he, started working as a designer. So he'd written, he had all these books that he wrote about military costumes. And then, so that's why when you see Star Wars, there's so much military, World War II in there, obviously, that influenced his design. I mean, Ralph McQuarrie did a lot of it too, but sorry, guys. Oh, trilobite is a fossil from early in evolution. Okay, well, I'm going to talk about the armor, but do you want to?
Gotcha.
Yeah. Do you want to?
It's like a horseshoe crab looking.
Yeah, yeah. It is very organic looking. I agree with that. Did you find another picture?
Not yet. I'm still getting. I'm on the Entertainment Weekly site.
Okay.
And there's still too much information about Luke Perry's death.
Oh, I know. I know. It's really sad. It's so sad.
He's younger than I am. That's not
yeah,
right.
Mary Jade says honeycomb pattern equals queen bee. Yeah, so like Melisandre. So Meli means honey, which I thought was really, really cool. And then I can't remember it off the top of my head, but there's a queen of honey. So it looks to me like, Melisandre, George likely named her after this particular goddess or queen or what have you. So, and then, I mean, one of my viewers said they thought that the hexagon shape, that, the honeycomb pattern shape was just a mere, they just chose a shape or whatever. But I did a whole video on the symbolism behind it. So a lot of it's tinfoil hat stuff. Yes, they picked a shape for her, but you see anyone from Ashai has the same shape, obviously. So all of the red priestesses and priests have the same shape. And that fabric, actually, I tracked it down. It's made by this company called Rebelli. They're out of Italy. And it's actually based upon, it's called I think it's called the Gem Sultan. It's like a mausoleum. And on the walls, they have these tiles that are shaped like that. So they actually based it upon the tiles. And then if you look at Dany's throne room, I think it's Gemma, who is the production designer. I think it's Gemma. There's been a couple of them. She actually based the throne room, the Dragonstone throne room, on these basalt columns. So I actually had talked about the basalt columns being sort of having that similar sort of hexagon shape that we see within all of Melisandre's costumes, and of course her choker and Quaith's mask. Do you remember Quaith had that mask of linked hexagons.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's sort of like, it's really interesting. It's a wonderful thread that we see carry through all the seasons. So it may be just a subtle little nod, but it's still fun to sort of like look at it and come up with some ideas about it. So that's sort of what I did in my tinfoil hat symbolism video.
Well, I'm so sorry to keep you going for without this extra information, because it's really cool to see the different costumes. But what I'd like to do, if we could just move on for just a second.
Sure.
Oh, I think I'm there. Almost there.
Oh, John, I was going to actually add this since I was looking at my notes now.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of Varys, I was saying it had that deal sort of Mongolian feel, but it also has the Targaryen in there as well. I meant to add that. So Michelle Clapton has specifically stated that Dany has gone back to the Targaryen look, and not that she would have remembered what her family would have dressed as, but her brother, Viserys, obviously would have dressed in the style of Targaryen. So if you look at his costumes he wore in season 1, you'll see that sort of, again, that asymmetrical, that sort of Asian collar. And then Dany, she doesn't immediately go to that. She picks up all of the different silhouettes. So she's got the Pentoshi look, and then she's got the Marine look, and she's got the young Kai look, and she's got the Karth look, and she just sort of like, and then she's got the Dothraki. So she sort of just goes around and picks up a little bit of influence as she travels, correct, right? And then by the time she arrives back in Westeros, she then is kind of then starting to embrace that Targaryen style. So that's what I think I wanted to mention about Varys, that he has that collar as well, that sort of Asian collar. But he's always had a little bit of an Asian look about him, right? I haven't done an analysis of him, but
to me, it's very I want to say samurai.
Yeah.
Because when you're not in battle, the samurai would dress very much like that.
Mm-hmm. And so he's got like that sort of kimono kind of furisode kind of look. That furisode, I always get the names wrong. But
it's more of a silk, padded silk.
Yeah, or like a brocade. Yeah. So he's always in very fine clothing, and he's very well manicured and shaved, and he's really more like an aristocrat or a diplomat, as opposed to, like you say, like a warrior. He's not a warrior. His war is fought with like the whispers, or with the spying, or with his words. Like you know what I mean? He's kind of like Tyrion, in the sense that Tyrion uses his knowledge as his way to
the information junkie.
Yes, exactly. He absorbs everything. So Varys has his network, and that's sort of how he fights his battles on the back channels, like sort of like in modern society, how we have the diplomats are fighting, behind the scenes. They're not fighting, I should say. They're negotiating behind the scenes. And so that's sort of what I think he is. So his clothing is sort of indicative of that. Always well dressed. We're doing a top 20 costumes for men, and I think he's got like 3 on the list, because he's he's so good. And the fabrics are just beautiful. Like if you zoom in on them, the show doesn't really do it justice. When you zoom in on the fabrics, you're just like, oh my gosh.
Well, you got to remember, he doesn't have a function other than to be stately, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he even kind of shuffles. He kind of shuffles a little bit, he's always like, it's funny because Conleaf, that's how you say his name, guys. Sorry if I'm saying it wrong. He's got a full head of hair. Like he's got hair like yours, kind of like Salt and Pepper. He's got a full head of hair, but like he shaves it. So it's sort of interesting. I don't know where that decision came for him to do that, but it just works so well.
Well, in the books, there is a book called Dunk and Egg. It's about the tales of Duncan the Tall, and Aegon the Fourth is he shaves his head as a boy and wears a hat so people don't see his silver Targaryen hair.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so everybody in the fandom most everybody believes that he's a secret Targaryen because of that.
Yeah.
And because of the fact that he had his privates cut off and put into the flames as a sacrifice in the show, even, it kind of indicates that there was something special about him. So,
yeah, which hasn't paid off yet. I wonder if they will. I wonder if they will pay that off.
Well, what is paid off is that he is very good at being in disguise. Whether he is walking with Illyrio in the dungeons of the Red Keep, or whether he's in the black cells with Ned as a jailer. Perfect. He just blends right in.
He does, yeah. I think that people, maybe they don't take him seriously. You know, all those around him, those playing the game, maybe they just don't take him. They don't, you know, put any. Danny was
as a threat. I agree.
As a threat, yeah. Danny
he's
seemed to be the first one who sort of called him out on, you know, hey, why are you supporting me? I'm kind of curious about that, because he seems to, you know, he changes with the tide.
Well, I wouldn't say the tide, because we're talking about 15 years between the current period of time and the time that her father was on the throne. So, and he was serving the court even well before the king was killed. So there is a long period of time there.
Plexi Bertrand says Conley's looks like an Australian PM with that hair. Yeah. By the way, he's in a new show. What is it? It looked very good.
He was in Suits for a long time.
He was in Suits, and so was Michelle Fairley.
Right.
They were both in Suits, and that's shot in Toronto, by the way, where I live. But no, it's a new superhero movie, I think, or show, I think, where it's these 5 like misfits. It's typical, like it's kind of like the Umbrella Academy. Someone said that it's the Umbrella Academy is based off of it. Anyway, I think he's in that show, but I could be wrong. It could be another show, or maybe it's the one about Motley Crue. I don't know. But that's a totally different type of show.
No kidding. Yeah, that's
okay. I apologize if I got it wrong, guys. Sorry. So what do you want to talk about next?
Well, I'd like to go into the next costume that you thought was pretty interesting, based on what you saw on the Entertainment Weekly.
Sure.
Danny, maybe that's probably the biggest change.
Sure. Do you have the picture there, or do you?
I have. Yeah, let me see what I can pull up. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Oh, that's okay.
We got a Entertainment Weekly here. I'm going to share the screen again. So we're going to go. Sure. We're going to go infinite here, and ta-da. Let's minimize that, and then we should see that.
Yeah. Okay. So this one, we've actually, with her, we've seen, there's 3 different looks of her. So this one was the original photos that were released of her. Or actually, you know, that when we saw the little teaser, when she arrives in Winterfell, this is the outfit she was wearing. So she's got this like white fur coat with the cravat, the red cravat and red gloves. And then she's got this sort of like, I'm calling it kind of a maroon red, sort of fur sandwiched in between. So some people were wondering if this is the same one she wore last year, and it's not. It's different. It is a very similar cut. There are some slight differences, like Xenon Faye was saying in my other video. She used to have sort of these zigzags on the upper sleeves in her old costume, but this one she doesn't. They're just sort of like straight lines going down her arm. Oh yeah, there's another look at it. And she's wearing what Michelle calls her chain of intent, which is basically a silver chain that's made out of like supposed to be dragon vertebrae, and then there's like 3 dragons at the top of it, which she can then loop a cape into. And I haven't seen any back pictures. It's likely that actually that might be a different costume. I think that might be a different costume.
It doesn't show the red in the in
Sorry.
between the
Yeah, so
layers?
that one is actually Asun and I were chatting about it. We think it's probably suede or leather, like a hide of some type. So it's just so it's just another version of sort of the same thing, the same silhouette that she's been wearing for the last couple of like last season. And so, so what Michelle Clapton had said, sort of like paraphrasing her, she's saying that last season she didn't want to be doing full on red on Danny because then she'd have nowhere to go. So what she decided to do is just have a little bit of red creeping in. So when she arrives in Dragonstone in season 7, episode 1, she's got like sort of a dark gray. It's not full black. It's sort of like a charcoal gray. And then she's got a little bit of red on that and like some crystals. And then the same thing when she's in the throne room, she's got a little bit of red. Most of it was done with embroidery. And then, so here, like we're starting to really see it. The Dragon Demands, who I had on my show the other day, he said that he thought that it kind of looked like a weirwood tree. I think I saw someone else say that as well. Kind of looks like a weirwood tree, right? Like the trunk of the tree.
I wouldn't go that far, but
well, it wasn't just him; it was somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I personally think it's just sort of like it's just she's just showing her Targaryen colors.
Exactly.
And then she's also wearing something, she's adapting to the climate. So she's wearing leather, she's wearing fur, she's wearing I guess
she has this neck cover, which
I don't like it.
It almost looks like an English necktie.
It's exactly what it is. It's a cravat. It's a Victorian necktie. It's terrible. Sorry, guys. I like it when her neck is open. I think it looks better. I get maybe why she decided to put some type of thing there, because I just would have rather have seen her do something different. Like, so with Sansa, what she did with her is she gave her mother's neck roll, right? That's what she did. That Catelyn would have worn. There's another picture of her where she's wearing like a fur stole. I kind of like that. She just has a white fur stole on top of her shoulders. And then it's just like a really nice contrast between her and Jon, because she looks very, with the white hair and the white, and then he's got the black hair and the dark. So just like, it looks super cool, right?
Absolutely.
Xenon Faye's saying this is a joke in the Twitterverse, the interwebs, that she was covering her hickeys. So love bites.
Okay. I'm going to go back to the screen for just a second.
I swear, if I ever had a guy do that to me, he would get a fisticuffs.
No,
seriously, my husband knows better. Never had a mark from him. I would just kill him. Anyway, that's too much information.
TMI.
TMI. Jon, by the way, if anybody doesn't know, he has been married for 30 years. Like, seriously. You've been married for 30 years.
33, actually.
33 years.
I just celebrated my 33rd anniversary.
You've been married 20 years longer than me.
I thought you were going to say 20 years longer than you were alive.
No. Honestly, I didn't meet my husband till late in life. We had our kids quite late. It just worked out that way. I was very lucky. Awesome. But I met him, and but congratulations. That's such a wonderful story, and very happy for you.
I'm just blessed. That's all there is to it. Yeah. So
if any of you in the chat didn't know that AU has been married for 33 years, pretty incredible. He announced that last night on the stream. It's a hot, what do they call that? It's like
it's a new take. Yep.
Yeah.
So Linda R sent me, some of the weird part is I was 4 years old when I was married. So,
yeah, you were 4. Yeah. I was going to say, how old were you when you married? Oh my gosh, you were still in
I was 60. Womb. Yeah.
You were in the womb still when that marriage.
So many of these people.
You're gonna give away your age.
So many of these people in the chat aren't even 33 years old. Yeah, so it's really tough.
Well, Lauren, who had me on, like somehow her age came out because she looks very young, right? And
Lauren Cullen from our
she looks very young, but she told me her age. I won't tell you because it's personal. But,
no, I know her age.
Oh, you know her age. Okay. So she told me so I told her my age, and then she was like, "Oh my God." And then I said, "Oh yeah, I'm wearing a lot of makeup." I've got it. I've spackled it. I've like taken the putty knife and just oh yeah, there you go. You've got, this is the old Entertainment Weekly, but that's
This is what Linda R sent me on
Yes.
Facebook to share. So
That's
we're
from,
going to go through some of these if that's okay.
yes, absolutely. Okay, great. Oh, that was so nice of her.
I have the best people that I know. So yeah, Linda R is awesome.
Now, John, you settle down there.
What does that mean?
He's not you, John, Jon, John, like Jon Snow. He's in the chat. He's saying naughty things.
John Haymaker,
Yeah.
the Iron Banker.
Is that what he is? The Iron Banker?
That's his avatar is the
Oh, that's
symbol for the
awesome.
Iron Bank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Now I see what you're talking about. John, you're so bad.
I'm just teasing.
He needs a full bodysuit,
I
right?
think as long as everyone here is over 18. But we can't know that for sure.
So we obviously saw Varys's costume here on the left and Jorah on the right. We've got no bears, all,
Yeah. Now, okay, so what I was going to say about him here, Jorah, and I did not like what people were saying about Jorah last night in the chat, by the way. I was very upset.
In my chat?
Yes, I love Jorah. I don't care what any of you say. I adore him. And I love Ian Glenn. So, all of you who said naughty things about him, mean things.
See, this is
I'm
what
very disappointed in you.
This is what I want you to understand. Ian Glenn is so awesome.
He's amazing.
That he makes the character, okay?
Yeah.
But in the books, Jorah the Andal is not Ian Glenn.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
He's fat, bald, hairy everywhere else.
Oh, really?
And he's 45 years old, so he's super old.
Yeah, so John's saying he can't wait to see him die.
And
I have seen him play evil characters before. He does a really good job. I think he creates a very sympathetic character.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah. So what I want to say about his armor. So he had this armor last season, if you recall, when he went to meet Danny. He's like an Old Stone, and he's like, he went down the street to the local armorer, and he's like, look, I got to meet this lady, and I got to impress her. And so I need you to, do a good set of armor for me. And he spent a couple of weeks there waiting for it before showing up in Dragonstone. That's my backstory for him.
Gotcha.
So last season, Michelle does this thing where she does these like interchangeable bits. So he's got this is his leather sleeves, but he also does have bear sleeves. So I don't know if you remember. So last season, they were like strips of what looked like bear fur, and so that's where he had the bear in there. And then so he wears that wherever they are in this photo shoot, it looks like it's warmer. So it looks like they're doing some north photos, and then they're doing some, I don't know where this is supposed to be, not this one here, but the other one. Yeah, that one. I don't know where this locale is supposed to be. It looks very warm,
like
though,
King's
right?
Landing.
King's Landing, yeah.
Yeah, so, the only thing that throws me off is the columns. I don't think I've seen that before.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if this was just for other people probably will know better than me. So this is sort of, I think this is what he wore when they went to the Dragon Pit. That's sort of like a less heavy version of it. Although Dragonstone, I think, isn't even that far from King's Landing from my recollection. But anyway, the whole thing, the whole geography thing there is sometimes a little bit wacky as far as I'm concerned. Like, I'm not really sure I understand some of the rules behind how the climate there works and so on. Because Dragonstone seems to be very cold, but it's quite south, isn't it?
It's very south, which is the problem with wearing that heavy clothes. Because last year at the very end of this season, we got a little snow.
John's saying Casterly Rock. I'm not.
Yeah, some people think that because of the Lannister banners, but
okay,
I've been told is that they've added so much new backdrops for King's Landing that this is actually more King's Landing.
Okay, yeah, so that's what Jorah's wearing. So he got this beautiful, nice, new, shiny bit of armor, and then that's the same. What Varys was wearing was the same one that we talked about in the close-up, and then. So you can see, it's like a knee length. Varys is like a knee length garment, and she's put these little pockets in. I don't know if you can see them, but she's added these little built-in pockets for him. So we'll likely see him with his hands in his pockets, or maybe he'll have them, like I said, though, I think that's just a bit of actor business. sometimes that's what I think some of these things are. They may not be, you know,
True to set.
idiosyncratic. Yeah, they may not. It may just be a choice that the actor has made. Just, you know, like I said, he was using it as a functional thing to keep his books, so maybe it's just become part of his character, where he finds some, you know, comfort as an actor. But it's a, you know, it's a beautiful costume. It's definitely, I would say, my second favorite of all the new looks we've seen so far.
Wow, second favorite. There's so many
Yeah.
good ones, so that says a lot.
I know. Well, I think it's because it immediately I went, whoa, you know, whereas a lot of times, like, say, I know everyone's going to say Sansa's is the best, what have you, but it's kind of like, I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, it's beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, it's gonna have to, I'm gonna have to sit with it for a while before I can decide what I feel about it. Whereas
So
Cersei's I definitely love. So, do you want to talk about Sansa?
I do, and I don't know what's going on, but for some reason or other, it changes.
I
It
agree.
doesn't show the picture.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so this is what I wanted to talk about. These
Yeah.
impressions on the dress of Sansa.
Sure. Okay. So everyone's come up with some really great ideas, and I think they're probably all valid. What I immediately thought when I first saw them was that they were feathers that have been lacquered, you know? And I was saying that because last season and the season, and like, you know, for instance, starting with Dark Sansa, and then last season, if you zoomed in close on her costume, she had strips and strips of feathers, which are supposed to be raven feathers. And the original raven feathers that she had, she originally obtained those from the Vale. Michelle had said, you know, she probably got them from the crookery or something like that. That was the idea. And also, like, Sansa's supposed to be making her own outfits, like, with the exception of her wedding gown that she wore when she married Tyrion, which was not made by her. Pretty much everything she's worn up to this point has been made by her. The idea is that she's made it. So I think that the scales could be representing all kinds of things. So people have come up with dragon glass. They could be Tully scales like we see on the Tully armor. Like I said, they could be they could be feathers that maybe have been lacquered. The fabric itself, however, I think it looks like what I would call lacquered fur, or laminated fur. So I'm pretty sure it's a fabric because you can see that it's been seamed and that the scales haven't been added after. It's actually a particular fabric. So I have no idea where Michelle got it from. She's very resourceful. She's got an amazing team of buyers. So now regarding the color, I think it's kind of like, you know, when you see a superhero cartoon and they have black hair, but they always add a bit of a blue highlight to it. You know what I mean? Like when
Sure, for the lighting.
For the lighting. So I think
and
it's
the green
like
screen
that.
also.
And the green screen. So I think it's kind of like that. So what Asun was saying to me is that, like, when we looked at it on the poster, it looked blue. And I said, I don't think it's blue, though. I think it's probably black, just because it doesn't really, like, we're like, where would the blue come from? What's that all about? So back to, you know, what we saw with, like, why is Varys wearing blue, or why is Tyrion wearing blue? So it didn't make sense that she would wear blue. It would make more sense that there was an interview that she talked about where she was wearing black. Now, I'm going to say, I don't personally think this is the outfit that Sophie Turner was talking about when she said, I'm wearing black leather armor. First of all, because I don't think that's leather.
Oh, you don't think that picture was leather?
I don't think the outfit's leather. I think it's either some type of, like I said, it's some type of lacquered, maybe faux fur or feathers, or I don't think it's leather. I could be completely wrong. But the other thing that I think is, the belt is though. Just the dress I don't think is leather.
Right.
But the other thing is, I don't know what you think about that. It's the same silhouette that she wore last season, but it doesn't look like armor to me. Like, I'm thinking, is that supposed to be armor? Like, it's terrible armor if that's what it's supposed to be, in my humble opinion. Like, she's not going to do very well in that. I mean, unless it's supposed to just be ceremonial armor. It's supposed to be like, just is sort of an illusion of armor without actually being armor, but it doesn't, to me personally, look like armor. Like, I think if it's going to be armor, it's got to be like rigid leather armor or
Gotcha.
themed, like kind of more like what Jorah's wearing. Like a breastplate or a brigadine or something like that that's actually rigid. And I honestly, I don't know what you guys think. I think she should be in pants if she's going to be in armor. Like I think.
Interesting.
So Cersei, I mean, the reason why Cersei's like that, I don't know if you, I mean, if any of you know, when you see pictures of queens, which is very rare, that have gone into battle, I mean, they don't actually go into battle, right? They're there just as a figurehead to show their support for the troops. But there's been very few women who've actually gone to battle, you know, with the exception of someone like Joan of Arc. But Joan of Arc actually wore battle armor. She didn't dress, she dressed like men. They talked about it. She dressed like men. She slept with the men, like not slept with the men, but, you know, lay with the men. Yeah. She's, you know, she ate with them. She slept with them. She dressed like them. And so so to me, if she's going to be wearing armor, it should be more like what Arya's wearing, or what Brienne's wearing, or what Jorah's wearing. You know, it should be more like that. So whereas Cersei, I mean, honestly, she would never be in battle herself. She would be in a room with a bunch of the women probably, and have her poison ready to go if she had to commit suicide. I think that's what would happen.
Gotcha. Was this your favorite? You were talking about Varys being the second.
No, my favorite is actually Gilly was my favorite. Gilly. I was thinking. Okay, so now that you've got this picture, I'm gonna just talk a little bit about this one because
awesome. Yeah.
So she's got two costumes. So she's got a black one and then she's got this red velvet one. So the first thing is, and I wanted to just say this. I have this really great costume designer. I've had her on my show before, named Rory McCloskey, and so she does reproductions of Game of Thrones costumes, and she's just really super talented. So she had pointed out to me that the area around her stomach looked like, you know, she's probably pregnant.
Oh,
and,
gotcha.
and there's been some discussion about that. So what I was going to say about this, so see where you see all those silver dots or gold dots or what have you, that's supposed to be where the armor is. So it makes sense because the area where all of the armor is all around her stomach area, right? And that would make sense to me that she'd be protecting her tummy. Now, if she is pregnant, she might only be 4 months pregnant or so. You usually don't show, but she's had children before. So usually once you've had children, you start to show a little bit faster. I don't know where this costume is in the storyline, but it would, you know, so it would depend on that. I mean, there was a character on The Walking Dead, Lori, who was perpetually pregnant. She never showed. Like, I was like, what's going, or not Lori, the other one, Maggie. She was like,
yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, like, when is Maggie going to start showing? She's been pregnant for like a year now already. Whereas Lori went from not showing anything to being full on pregnant. If any Walking Dead fans here. So the next thing I was going to say, okay, this is something that started last year, and I kind of was like not super crazy about it, but she had this costume that she wore to the Dragon Summit. And it looked like kind of like chainmail, but in the back, it had this sort of like spine thing going on down the back. And so what I originally had said, so this is me, although in this case, you guys can disagree with me, but I'm probably right on this one.
Don't disagree with Heidi,
yeah,
whatever you do.
I'm going to tell you, I'm probably right on this one. You can disagree with me, but I probably am right on this one. Okay, so I said it looked like H.R. Giger. If anybody knows who that is.
I have no idea who that is.
So H.R. Giger is this artist who created the alien creature in the movie Alien. And he was sort of obsessed with like skeletal designs and spines and like just all kinds of crazy fantasy style, you know, designs. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so originally he was going to work on, there's a version that Dan O'Bannon, was it Dan O'Bannon? There was a version, Jodorowsky's Dune, that he was supposed to work on. I don't know if you guys ever saw the documentary about Jodorowsky's Dune, that it was this failed Dune project. And so H.R. Giger was on Dune, and Dan O'Bannon, who wrote the Alien script, was on Dune. And then they ended up going and working with Ridley Scott on Alien, which of course now there's like 6 movies. So he was the original person behind that. So I'm bringing it. So I told this to Asun, and she said, well, actually, it looks a lot like this spine corset that I saw Alexander McQueen make. So I looked into it, and sure enough, it had a lot of the similar thing. Although she said, I think Alexander McQueen probably was influenced by Giger. So to make a long story short, I've been looking more into it. And Michelle Clapton's a huge Alexander McQueen fan. Like, she's based a lot of her costumes on his. Like, for instance, the burrito costume that Marjorie wears in season 2 is based on that ugly burrito, and it's based on Bjork. I'm not even joking.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but that's funny.
And then Cersei, like, some of her weird costumes where she wears, like, they're kind of like really rigid at the top, and they've got this big space in there. That's based on that's another style of an Alexander McQueen. So she was a big fan of his, and she's admitted that she has like paid homage to him as well. So what I discovered is that Alexander McQueen actually did a collection before he passed away based upon H.R. Giger, and a lot of them look like kind of like X-rays. Like, it was like dresses that look like X-rays. And so if you look at them and you look at Cersei's costume, it has that sort of similar thing. It looks kind of like an X-ray. She's done it with this particular type of technique where basically you just cut the fabric and then you flip it and then you stitch it. And so the shoulder pieces have the same kind of look to them. They've got that, my friend Tatiana, as soon as she saw her other outfit, she's like, oh my God, looks just like the alien creature. So if you look at the alien creature, you look at some of Alexander McQueen's clothing based upon H.R. Giger, I think that's sort of where she's going for that. So to me, what it means is it's sort of like, it looks like an X-ray of her. We're starting to see her inside. So last season, she had this one dress that I just hated, but it looked like her skin was blistering. Like I said, it looked kind of like grayscale, like Jorah's grayscale. Like, so it was black puckered, like she was, and I called it her rotting from within. Like, she's just so like full of hate and anger and resentment that she's lost her children, and she's so, furious with the world that she's just basically like rotting. So to me, this is sort of saying that she's just like, she's actually, the flesh is now starting to just like, come away, and we can actually see inside and see her skeleton. So I just, this does not look good for the baby as far as I'm concerned, because she's got a baby growing within basically like a rotting kind of corpse,
Wow,
Walking Dead type of individual. That's what I think.
How appealing. See, okay. To me, this costume is totally opposite of what you're saying. This is like, I'm in control.
Oh yeah. Well, I think she's trying to put that impression out there, like, but what Michelle Clapton has often said is, Cersei, the more paranoid she gets, which is a lot, she gets paranoid a lot, right? She's always thinking everyone's, after her, which at this point they probably are. But earlier, every time she felt insecure or paranoid, she would armor up. So she would start wearing like an armored corset, or she would start wearing, like a belt that had chainmail on it, or plate mail. And she even had this crazy like corset that she wore in season 4, I think, that was like, I think Marjorie even made a comment about it. Oh, look at your armor. It's so, the work, the detail, it's so beautiful. And then she's got like lions all over it. So that's sort of, I think, the idea. She's got these giant pauldrons, which are kind of ridiculous, just by themselves. And she's wearing like the lion pendant, which normally she would wear at her throat, but she's got it hanging down. So someone in one of the groups mentioned that it's in front of her stomach. And I thought that was actually a really good point, because oftentimes, like in some cultures, they would wear a talisman of some type to protect the baby.
Well, even in Marine, they would wear that bronze circle around their torso area
Oh
with
yeah.
the silk
Okay.
silk costume. So yeah, I definitely see that.
Yeah. So what I was reading, it says like amulets. Oh, someone said that they thought that the lion pendant was actually a different shape, but I definitely think it's a lion. Like it's the
Hmm.
Lannister lion for sure.
Oh, for
And
sure.
again, I don't think it's gold, but it's kind of the same kind of, nickel, bronze, patina kind of thing, right? And so it says amulets were worn in Eastern Europe during pregnancy to prevent miscarriage. So, he's wearing it to protect the baby. Amulets and talismans intended to protect women in childbirth and their newborns were a significant part of Jewish folk culture and in Christian Europe and the Islamic world. And in the Muslim realm, protective objects made of metal, especially gold and silver, were preferred and also functioned as jewelry for women, and for small children. So yeah, so that to me that makes sense. So she's wearing that pendant in front of her stomach to protect the baby.
The one thing that throws me off though is that this design, I really love that design right in the center,
Yes.
is on Danny's back from
Yes.
last year
Yeah.
because of her being the mother of dragons. And I thought that was perfect. But what do you think the purpose is? I mean, do you think that's strictly the skeleton
Yeah,
kind of concept?
I think it's sort of like an X-ray sort of
Mm.
concept. Yeah. She had it on her back last year as well.
Yeah, yeah. That's what was
Yeah.
throwing me off, is because why would
Well, I think
she
Michelle.
copy Danny? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think the reason why she's moved it to the front, to be honest with you, it might have even just been that Michelle wanted it to be seen more because last year it was not seen. There was
Mm.
just one scene where she turned around, you couldn't
Right,
see.
right.
So maybe she decided to have it more visible. I could have
Gotcha.
been that. And then the other thing I want to mention
Well,
is,
if she did, then why wouldn't she just put it on the arms? On the side.
I think it's supposed to be like the spine. Like it's supposed to,
Gotcha. See through. Hmm.
yeah, the spine.
Okay.
Maybe it's showing that she has a spine. She doesn't have a spine. Oh, the other thing I was going to say, this is just a fun little thing I thought when I saw this dress. I was like, it kind of reminded me of the color of her wine, So I was thinking maybe she's like, this is showing that she's just like full of wine. She just turned into this giant wino. And, she's just the color of her drink, which is
Well,
kind
she
of
hasn't been drinking since she found out she was
Oh,
pregnant.
that's true.
So
You're right. Yes, you're right. Yeah, but you notice the wine that she drinks is sort of the color is the crimson of the the Lannisters.
right.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention about Sansa here, she's wearing the same belt she wore last season. Someone's asking what that is.
Hmm.
And Michelle had said something. It's something to do with protecting her against Littlefinger, although Littlefinger's gone, so I'm not really sure. It's just sort of her way of protecting herself, though. That's what she said. But what is different is she's got like a little fish, belt buckle there now. That was different last year. It was like a D ring. So she does have a little bit of the fish. So maybe she is turning into a mermaid. I don't know. She's turning into a Tully mermaid.
Yeah, I don't understand
Dragon
that.
scale.
I really don't
She's
understand
a
the
mashup.
concept. Yeah, at all.
So I'm not 100% on that. Like I was saying to people, like I'm like, I'd be fine with the dragon scale. I'd be fine with the Tully. The Tully armor has that look of scales. Like, do you remember that?
Well, if you look at the Blackfish, that's
Yes.
a perfect example
Yeah.
of costume showing who that character is.
Absolutely.
This one, because
Yeah.
she's a Stark, I don't find it. It doesn't
Yeah.
match her looking as Lady, the
Yeah.
direwolf. It doesn't match the Blackfish
Yeah.
scales.
So unless something
Yeah.
happens in the narrative that we don't know about that causes this change, because we know that she starts off the season in one of her season 7 outfits. She's wearing one of her gray dresses. She's not wearing
and
the top of the show, right?
why black? Yeah, of all the colors in the Westeros sigils,
Yeah.
black is not one of them, and she's not mourning anybody. So
No, I have no idea. I don't really get it, to be honest with you. Like
yeah.
I made a joke on Twitter after she announced that she's going to be wearing black armor that I'm like, okay, screw it. I'm just going to throw my TV out and pull out my black and white TV and watch the whole show in black and white. Because I was just like, what's the point? Everything is dark. Everything is gray. It's like Groundhog Day.
That's why I was so excited to see that picture on your
Oh, me
Twitter.
too.
Is that everybody has a little color.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Um, yeah, someone says it's still a nod to her mother. So normally how she did the nod to her mom though is she wore the Tully, she'd have like either the Tully brooches, which is like the trout, or she would wear the neck roll.
right,
And that would be her mother. And then last season she actually wore the neck roll and then it had a little Targaryen sort of ending to it that then would pin. And then she had her dad's sort of silhouette with the shoulder epaulets. That was sort of Ned. So she tried to, it looked like she was kind of incorporating them. People were saying her hair was kind of like Cersei, like she was incorporating Cersei's a little bit there, but she was really kind of doing her own thing. So I don't really know. I'm not really sure the reasoning behind that. I was saying I hope that Michelle maybe comes out and gives some explanations about why she's chosen some of these things,
yeah.
or better would be that the story would tell us, that we'll learn it from the story itself.
This picture with Theon and it looks very much just last year.
It is, yeah.
There's no.
Yeah, Theon's. Sorry. Okay, you had someone on Twitter who asked about why Theon no longer has the Kraken. And
Right.
so what I did is I looked back at some of his older pictures. So it was a more defined Kraken. So my understanding, I don't know where I read this from. I think Michelle said it. So the armor, the Ironborn armor is kind of like, it's a breastplate that is then covered with like a thin layer of leather. That's what it looks like to me.
So it doesn't rust.
Yeah, exactly, because of the salt water.
Mm-hmm.
And then what each of the warriors do is they take a knife and they carve their own kraken into it.
Gotcha.
So if you look at, for instance, Yara's armor, which I don't have a picture of it there, but if you look at her, she's got like a cute little delicate kraken. Hers is like smaller, whereas if you look at Theon's, it's kind of like a big kraken, And so I think what's happened is it's sort of like been peeling away, which sort of makes sense for me, for his character, obviously, right? Because he is now, they're like kind of like fugitives. I don't know how you describe them, him and Yara and their team. They're like mutineers. I mean, they left obviously because they were going to be killed. But so to me, he doesn't really have any allegiance to the original, to Euron. So maybe that's why. I don't know what you guys think. Yeah, Euron does look like he works at Hot Topic. No, I know. I wasn't really crazy about that look last year. I actually got, people got mad at me because I think I put him in my top. I think I had him in one of my lists and people kind of got mad. Oh, I didn't have him on my worst costume list. And I don't know why I didn't have him. I probably should have had him. That's what I said. But I kind of enjoyed it at the same time. It was kind of like a Keith Richards sort of thing. And, the actor did such a great job. I thought he was really awesome in it. And so I don't know. But yeah, he's wearing the same costume, which is, I always think when someone's wearing the same costume that they've been wearing for a while, that's probably not boding well for them, because that means that there wasn't budget to get a new costume for them. So they're probably going to be the first to kick it. I don't know what you guys think of that idea. Pilu, yeah. Britt the Change says. Brienne has the best armor. Yes, she does. She has awesome armor. So who do we have left to talk about?
I think really I was going to talk a little bit about Brienne, but I didn't find a picture good enough to, share with everybody. So
yeah, she's been wearing the same armor. Actually, she had a new cloak last year. She's been wearing the same armor. But yeah, she has the chevron. So we were talking about that. The chevron being a sign of being a warrior, like the, because or lampa, it's the symbol of the lampa, which is used on the shields of the Spartans, like 300, if any of you guys have seen that movie. So that symbol is the lampa symbol. It's also used in a lot of fraternities. Is used on the armor. And so that's supposed to be, it's meant to be the roof of a house, but it also apparently means a warrior. So what I had said about Tyrion is that he's more the negotiator because he's the V, and then the the Night King has the chevron, so he's more like the warrior, and then Dany has like the zigzag, so she's kind of like the warrior negotiator. She's kind of both. Although she had and then same with Tyrion, he also has zigzag. So that's pretty tinfoil hat stuff kind of thing, though. I think I don't have anything to back that up with for sure.
The only other person that is changed really this year that I see, in addition to that, is Melisandre. Her dress is red flame with black in it. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Okay, so that costume's actually from season 5.
Oh my goodness!
So really? Yeah, it is, because it's actually it's hexagons, right? And how they've woven it, it's actually, she's wearing it in reverse, like it's a jacquard. So it looks one way on one side and then a different way on the other side. So in the proper side, it's actually kind of like a dark rose, and then it's got like the it's got almost like a purpley black outline. But in the reverse, it looks kind of like there's kind of like fire, like you say. Like it looks like there's fire coming from within, around, surrounding the hexagon. So it's just a really beautiful fabric. It's from Rebelli. So I'm not, like, that's what I was saying. I'm not sure why she's wearing the same costume. For me, it didn't bode well for her. Like, I'm like, uh-oh, Mel's wearing the same costume. And I mean, she did say something last year about, going away and then returning, and then she would die, kind of thing, right?
Right.
And by whose hand, we're not sure. Maybe Arya or...
Well, she'll be in Westeros, right?
What's that?
We know she'll be in Westeros.
She'll be in Westeros. So she's gone away. She's in Essos or something. She went off to meet somebody.
The concept is that she went... This is, most people believe, is that she went back to her Temple of Orlor, where they have the fiery hand, which is 1,000 priests of Orlor, and they all have what's called the fiery hand, and it's basically to defeat the Night's King. That's what she's trying to do, is to come and defeat the Great Other.
Yes,
because that's their enemy in concept. Whether that happens or how they portray it in the show, I don't know.
Well, it's so crazy because when you think about it, there's only,
screen share one more time.
Sure. There's only 6 episodes. And I think the first 2 are 60 minutes and then the other 4 are like 80 minutes or something.
Yeah, there is quite a few that, this is from Renee of House Stark. She posted these on Facebook. Yes. Pretty much the same as what we looked at a little earlier, but a little better.
Yeah, I think it's the same. So he's wearing like Theon's wearing a brigandine again underneath it. It's got the studs on it, and Yara has the same one. Hers, yeah. So again, like the little rivets mean that they're supposed to be played in behind. Also, what's his name? Sandor Clegane wears the same type of thing, the Hound. And it's just a very common type of medieval armor. So also Samwell wears it as well. Although I think in this one, he's not. Whereas Michelle had said about Euron, the idea with his coat is that he's probably cut it himself. Again, like the stars. He's cut those stars into his jacket. That you see, like, because he thinks he's a rock star or something.
He's got a lot of time on the water by himself.
He does. So, and he's like, I don't know. Someone said he's drinking poison. And I know his hair is short like that because he did, I don't know if anybody ever saw, there's a movie. He did a movie where he bleached his hair blonde. And
he was Pontius Pilate in the new Ben-Hur that was.
Oh, you're kidding!
Years ago. And that might have been what
yeah.
She's referring to.
So, and then he is wearing the canvas, like all of the Ironborn wear these long canvas. I consider them like maybe sailcloth. They're made from sailcloth that has been, like the sails have torn. So they just take them and cut them up and make them into these cloaks. And Michelle has indicated that they're supposed to be then waterproof with like fish oil. So they just reek. You know, they don't actually reek, but she says they almost smell. So that's sort of the idea. And it's true because like my dad, who was a sailor, he had this sweater and it was kind of like an Aran sweater, turtleneck. And
Mhm.
it was like soaked in lanolin. Like you buy it
Right.
like that, right? To waterproof it.
Mhm.
And one day he was walking along, he'd had too much to drink and he fell off the dock and he
Mm.
fell into the water and he came out and he was bone dry. I was like, oh my gosh. But that thing stunk. It smelled really bad, like because of
Sure.
the
Like
lanolin or whatever.
turpentine. Mhm.
Yeah, like it's like, you know, it's because it's like sheep, you know, oil or something that they get
Sheep oil.
it is. The lanolin comes from like
I know what you mean. I
wool,
know.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it smells like a stinky sheep. So that's what my dad. I always remember my dad smelling like that in seawater. And
That's why they used to wear Old Spice,
Old
right?
Spice to cover the smell. And then he drank Labatt's Blue, which is this really terrible Canadian beer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's really terrible. It's watery. It's terrible. So yeah, it's my dad's still alive, by the way. I'm talking about him like he's not with us
God
anymore,
bless
but
him.
he is. I know. Yeah, my dad, he is 86. So, but yeah, he was an old sailor. You want to talk about Bran?
Well, Brand is a character that doesn't change much. I don't think we're. Let me ask you this: based on what you've seen, do you see any characteristics that she's trying to portray? I guess is the best way to put it.
Oh, can you just hold on 1 second?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna turn off my okay. Go ahead. I'll be back in a second.
Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna go back to the Hangouts here and stop sharing this for a moment, so we can. Ta-da! There we go. All right. Hey, there I am.
Oh, what happened?
What do you mean?
Oh, okay. Is everything okay? There I am. Sorry, Jack had to get me a glass of water.
I thought you were gonna be gone for a second, so I took off the screen sharing.
No, sorry. Jack had to get me a glass of water, so I sent him a private message. We have like a messaging system in our house. So I sent him a private message. Could you please bring me a glass of water? Because I'm like my throat.
I have a friend in Switzerland, Catherine Cronall, who does that to her husband, and when he presents the drink, he actually waves in the screen. So
That's so
so I
cute.
call him the hand.
Aw. No, Jack gets really nervous about people seeing him. He gets really nervous about it.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh no,
Well,
he's okay. Yeah.
he was off screen, so no problem.
Yeah. No, well, what I was going to say about this one, so Bran's wearing this both in the poster. It's a black and white photo. I'm not sure why. But it's the same costume he wore last year again.
Mhm.
But I don't know that there's any reason for him to have a new costume because he's in his chair. You know, he's stationary. He's not really, I mean, he can fly, you know, with warging or what have you. But I mean, it's a sensible costume. But what I did sort of think is that it looked a little bit like the silhouette of the Three-Eyed Raven.
Mm.
So the Three-Eyed Raven's costume, if you look at it, like the one that's worn by, what's that wonderful actor? I forgot his name. Not Gus Van Sant, but it's, you guys can tell me.
You know, it's so funny because I had it up on the tip of my tongue. Yes.
He's in The Exorcist as well. He's
right.
He's a wonderful actor. Anyway, if you look at it, it looks trash. Like it's all like shredded and, you know, just stressed and, you know, because he's been wearing this outfit for a long time. So John says he's the fifth Beatle. John's hilarious, by the way. John, you're a blast. So I think this is supposed to be kind of like a Three-Eyed Raven, and he does have some studding though. He does have a little bit of the brigandine on underneath, and he has this cowl. And I think I'm trying to remember what I was coming up with the cowl. I haven't seen anyone wear that look. So what it is basically like a tube of fabric. It's lined, and then he puts it over his head, and then it's got like a buckle kind of thing. It's kind of like, it reminds me a little bit of Robin Hood, you know, that sort of like friar tuck type look. Right. So, you know, maybe someone who is like a monk type figure who oftentimes in plays and movies is oftentimes the person who holds the wisdom, or so that's what I sort of get that vibe from him. And then his, his haircut, the cut his hair. I would have liked it to have been long, but I don't know what, it might have been an actor choice. I loved his hair when it was longer.
Brands?
Yeah.
Really?
So they cut it. Yeah, they cut it. It's kind of like a bowl cut now. I don't know what you guys all think about it.
Interesting. I would have not.
Yeah, Britt says, I mean, it could be something like as practical as it's just so he can change easily because he's in a wheelchair.
Right.
By himself, she says. So that makes sense. Something just easy for him to put on.
Yeah, the maester has to dress him, so.
The maester has to dress him, so whereas John would have to have a squire, or any of these guys, they would have to have a squire help them. Because there's a really great scene actually in Robin Hood, the one that's directed by the one with Russell Crowe, that's directed by Ridley Scott, where they show him being undressed, and it's such a great scene because by Maid Marian, I think, because it's just like, yes, finally someone's showing how difficult it is to actually get in and out of chainmail or mail, which is the proper name for it.
It was the point of attraction that Maid Marian had to Russell Crowe.
Yes. Oh, Linda's got to go. Bye, Linda. Yeah, we're kind of talking a long time. Sorry, guys.
Oh, no.
And then, so this one here. So, I looked last year at Samuel's costume. I think it is the same. He didn't start out with this. He's got this really wonderful stole, like a pelt that looks kind of like wolf-like. I don't know what you guys think. I think it looks a little bit like a dire wolf kind of wolf pelt like John's wearing. But when I looked at it last year, it looked like it kind of had gotten folded inside. So it could potentially be the same. But again, he's got the cross, he's got the cross straps and the full cloak. So it's very northern look to it. And I love the looks that he
said Max von Sydow, which is funny because he was also in the Riding Hood. I mean, Robin Hood.
He was in Robin Hood. That's right.
He was the father of the state.
Yeah, he's a wonderful actor. Yep. I love him. Yeah, so he played the priest in The Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
The Exorcist priest. There's the young priest and then him. And he's the one who gets a vomit all over him, poor guy. On his glasses. Do you remember that? He gets vomited on his glasses.
Absolutely.
And he's very patient and cleans his stool. And, he's very, very patient. He's lovely. If I was going to have a priest do an exorcism on me, that's who I would choose.
Not a lot of experience with that I'm taking.
No, I've never had the pleasure or the displeasure.
Oh, so what's striking about this is his look. I know you're explaining that this is an Entertainment Weekly photo shoot, and that's might be why he's got the, I'm too sexy for my coat kind of look.
Oh, I know the looks. His facial expressions are hilarious. But it's not just even in the Entertainment Weekly, it's also on the poster. He does this eyebrow thing. It cracks me right up. I don't know if they're like, okay, what have you name actor? What's his name? Sorry.
John Bradley?
John Bradley. Mm-hmm. John Bradley? I don't even know his name. Give us a come hither look. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out what the direction is happening here from the photo,
I don't know if you've ever seen this, but on YouTube, there is a solo drum set of John that I think is one of the most just incredible. I just really enjoyed it. And the fact that it came from Sam, my man, is just really epic. So I thought you'd like that.
Oh, Britt's saying that he's trying to be broody like John. Yeah, I guess
he's getting some kit lessons.
Yeah, no, I love it. Well, he's got a hot wife now. He's got a hot. Or actually, are they married? Did they even marry?
I thought they were.
Okay,
but
he's got a hot wife, and now that she's got that beautiful new outfit, she's no longer in rags.
Yeah, she can go to Macy's now instead of
exactly.
Target.
Yeah, exactly. Should go to Macy's instead of Target. So I like his look. I mean, I love him. I've always loved him. And I like his beard. Because I think in season 1, it was kind of like, it's sort of like, when a young man is trying to grow out their facial hair, but it's just not really working properly. It's very patchy and
Yep.
sticking out kind of. I feel like he's sort of, you see him go from being like a boy into a man. Like he's now solidly a man,
You got to have a good beard if you want to be a wizard.
Exactly. He's got an awesome beard. Davos, I mean, I adore him. I'm not exactly sure if this is the costume he's worn before. It's the same silhouette as season 7 though, but it was green. So I can't exactly tell if this is the same. It's a surcoat. It's like a medieval surcoat is what he's wearing.
Pretty simple, right?
It's very simple. It's very no nonsense. Like he is. He's fantastic. I love him. The actor's fantastic too. As I don't know if you've ever seen him in interviews.
Britt says he dropped out of. I was talking about Sam. He dropped out of Maester school. Yeah, he's a 2-time dropout. He dropped out of the Watch and the Maesters. So yeah,
I know he's such a disappointment to his father. Unfortunately, his father's not around to comment anymore about it.
His dad is called Charcoal.
He is Charcoal, yeah. But I love Dickon. I'm not sure. Like, there's Dickon 1 and Dickon 2.
Dick on.
There's Dick on 1 and Dick on 2 because they changed him up. It was funny because I in this group I'm in. Well, you're in the same group, the Geek Squad group. People were like, "Oh my gosh, Dickon's in the Umbrella Academy." But have you seen it?
No, I have not. I watched the first part where they were in the pool, and then then I dropped.
Well, he's all padded up in it. Like, so, Dickon was already kind of big, right? But they've like padded him up. So it's really, really weird. So he's got this little head, like this tiny little head floating on this massive body, but it's very well done. It's very well done. But anyway, so the girls were all like, "Oh my gosh, that's Dickon. Dickon." Yeah. So I'm glad for Sam because he's probably better off, and hopefully his sister doesn't have to marry that old man, that troll of an old man.
Yeah, I don't think you were a fan of Black Sails, if I remember correctly.
I haven't seen it. I've heard really good things about it.
So he was in that, and he did an excellent job. He was like one of the main characters.
Oh, really? Okay.
And so you see a lot of his progress as a character in that. Excellent job. And that's one of the things that kind of confused me, because I thought they were going to use him for much more than just a couple of quick scenes. But
speaking of that, like, because we were just talking about Euron's costume, like that I came to this idea. I think I read it somewhere that his outfit was probably made from sailcloth, and then the sails are black, and then black sails. And I'm thinking, I don't understand why the sails would be black, because canvas is naturally like off-white, right?
Right. It's because of the hemp is beaten so much that it's naturally pale. But with Euron's ship, he was the captain of the Silence, which had black sails.
I know, but that must be like just that additional amount of like dyeing, or paint, like however they would do it. I was assuming they would dye it. I mean, I always thought the whole idea with people, the Ironborn being able to find enough timber to build some ships kind of preposterous anyway. But then to take that extra step and then to dye a bunch of sailcloth just seems to me a little bit like weird.
It's just charcoal, I'm sure.
Oh yeah?
I wouldn't think it would be anything more than charcoal.
This,
what's that?
I'm going to look into this and I'm going to come back to you about this.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going to challenge you on the
well, that's what they use for pencils and writing. So yeah. I wouldn't think that it would be that complex. Of all the colors, I would think.
Have you ever?
Black.
Okay, let me ask you. Have you ever dyed anything?
If I did, it was a pretty bad job with magic markers. So,
okay. So I'm just saying. I'm just saying that it's a stinky and messy process.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it's if anybody's watched Outlander, they'll know what I'm talking about. They'll know because oftentimes urine is involved. So,
oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I I just like that's my okay. She says, Britt says dying sales doesn't seem that extreme after cutting out your crew's tongues. Laugh my ass off. Absolutely, Britt. See, I
Yeah.
love Britt because she just brings everything back to
Reality.
reality for us guys. Yes, thank you, Britt. Thank you for setting me straight.
Yeah, definitely is a sneaky
Yeah,
process of
no, that would make sense to me. Yeah. So if
mhm.
you're off in the distance, your big white sails wouldn't like stick out and people would go, "Oh my gosh, there's a ship coming."
Yeah, we got that from the Black Pearl in Pirates of the
Yeah.
Caribbean.
So do
yeah.
they have black sails in the show Black Sails? Is that why it's called that?
I don't think that there was a black sail except for the fact that they were flying the Jolly Roger, which is traditionally black
Yeah.
with
Yeah. Oh, and speaking of that, I have one other comment to make about Cersei's costume. Speaking of the Jolly Roger. Now on her one outfit, you don't see it, but on the red one, you can see those X's on the front of her dress. And then so Asun and I were talking about what would be the significance of the X. So I said like Arya's got the squares and the knights, Sansa
has a circle.
Sansa has the circle, and the Night's King has the chevron and inverted chevron for Tyrion kind of thing. So she has the X. Okay, so the X could mean she not only does she have it on sort of the bottom of her skirt, but she also has it in the lacing in the front too. I noticed. So there's in math, an X can mean an unknown variable. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
I think we know what we're getting into with Cersei.
She's
I'm
the
sorry.
unknown variable. No, not that one. Okay. It can mean a crossing, obviously. X signifies the end of something, an entity whose existence is over, past, dead, and gone.
I like that one.
I like that one a lot, right? Oh, this is really fun. Cartoonists have traditionally employed it to display a character out cold or dead through drawing X's over their eyes.
Now I have to look at her dress to see how many X's are on it, right?
2, and then at the bottom with the studs. And then also it can mean the skull and crossbones emblem, right? Which you just talked about, the Jolly Roger.
For sure. This
one I thought was interesting. You guys can tell me what you think of this one. X has long been recognized as an occult symbol for Satan and the black art of witchcraft or of Satanism. I mean, she's definitely dabbled in the necromancy, right? Necromancy. How do you say it? Necromancy?
Necromancy, yeah. And Plexi said that the X has been adopted for indicating gender neutral, which I did not know.
I did not know that either. That makes a lot of sense. That would make sense. She is kind of like she's always wanted to be your dad, so she's got that weird Joffrey hairstyle, which I hate. She calls it a turnip, by the way. Did you know that?
No.
Lena, she calls that wig her turnip, the turnip. Wow. And I did a side-by-side comparison on Twitter, and I have to say it's a pretty accurate description.
You put a turnip next to her picture?
A yellow turnip, and then I had a picture of Lena Headey, and I put it side by side. I'm like, yes, it's very close. She said it on Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh,
the other
Plexi, thanks for that information.
Oh yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah,
and then okay, so finally, but the cross, being at cross purposes with another communicates conflict or contrariness, which I thought that was kind of like her and Tyrion. Or being double crossed indicates being swindled, deceived, or betrayed. That's definitely because she's planning on reneging on her handshake agreement.
Sure.
Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting. So that could be some symbolism. It could be some tinfoil hat theory type stuff, guys. You can take it for what you want. I was thinking, like, I had thought that a 10 actually can be royalty, but I couldn't find anything about it. I just seem to remember 10, like an X being royalty, but maybe you guys know better than me.
Lots of symbolism there, from Satan to gender neutral.
Well, someone said to me that they thought Cersei was the devil, so maybe, I don't know.
No, I don't think so.
And then, well, not the literal devil, right? She's just, she's an evil character. She's a devilish character. Okay, so is anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think we've covered all the characters. I'm just really excited to see the new costumes because, like I said, they're not all black, and
Me too.
that is so frustrating for me. Like you said, you could just turn your TV on black and white if you wanted to watch all the costumes in black and white. That's just not good at all.
Yeah, it's funny because in the old days, the costume designer, I found this out, Edith Head, who's this famous costume designer, she used to work in both color and black and white. Like I guess at one point they had a crossover. So she had a special lens that she would look at. Like, so the costumes would be color, obviously, but then they would be in black and white. So she had a special lens that she would look through to see what it would look like when it was in black and white. But I think what it is for me is that beginning last season, they were using such dimly lit settings, like a lot of interior sets, like say in the bowels of like the Red Keep or something, everything, with just torch light, and everything would be so dimly lit. So you've got that in conjunction with all the dark clothing, and it just made it, just like, oh my gosh, like I was starting to kind of get a little bit disappointed. So one of the things that was nice about the photo shoot is a lot of them were done outside. So you've got these really, you got the natural lighting. So I don't know how it's going to look in the show, but I'm hopeful. And because I think for like Michelle, the costume design team, it must be really disappointing when you make something and then you look at it on screen, you're like, oh my God, you can't even see it. That's awful.
Exactly.
Exactly. Put into it and you can't even see it.
Especially like you were talking about the spine, on
yeah.
her.
I can see it. Like, it's funny, years ago I worked on a show and it was a musical, and we had all these really awesome bright costumes, like really like, I called them ice cream colors. But we had this lighting designer, and he was an opera lighting designer, and I was sitting in the audience watching rehearsal, and I'm like, what is going on here? And my brother-in-law was working on the show, and he said, oh, he works in opera. And I said, yeah, but you can't see anything. It's all dark. Like, what's the point, like, of doing all these beautiful, vivid colors if you can't even see them? They're not even lit. So, that's sort of how I kind of feel about it, I realize they're trying to create a sense of mood and tone and everything, but at the same time, I'd like to, be able to see the actors' faces. I like to be able to see, what they're wearing, and
all that good stuff.
Yeah. So hopefully
that's
everybody
one of the reasons why they don't wear helms on, when they're in battle. A lot of times is because they want to show the face of the actor, so you know who that is, since they paid all that money, and they don't want to just make it look like there's buckets on their heads, kind of thing. So
we talked about that also, just when they're north of the wall and no one wears hats and everyone complains, why aren't they wearing a hat? For God's sakes, Jon Snow, you're gonna catch a cold. And then she says, I've tried to get hats on him. I've tried to get hats on, all the characters. I think Joe wore a hat last year. Gendry, he actually, I think, wore a hood or a hat, and just when they went north of the wall. But she said it's because of that exact reason. Like, you can't see their faces, and the producers get all like, well, we can't see, and it creates shadows as well, so they'll have shadows. I actually have a really great picture of the actor who played Gior Mormont and Kit Harington. They're kind of both wearing like blankets over their heads, and then they've taken the clips and just clipped them on. So and then they have these big mittens, so between takes they're wearing them. It's such a funny picture.
They're probably electric heating blankets.
No, they were just, I think it was blankets. You would think they would be. Like, yeah, it must have been awful. Like, the worst would be your feet.
Yep.
I was saying that during the video, like, being in Canada, that's usually the first thing to go, or your feet and your fingers, right? So, once your extremities are cold, then you just cannot warm up. And I remember a couple of years ago, I did an exterior shoot where I had to be outside for like something like 10 hours in the winter. And it just gets into your muscles. It gets into your bones. Like, you are so tired and achy just from being in the cold. Like, it's really awful. So I can't even imagine what it would be like for the cast, but definitely it doesn't make sense in a lot of ways for the characters. That's for sure. But what are you going to do? You gotta extend the reality, I suppose.
Yeah. You understand that the whole concept is you've got to see the characters emote, and that's the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Well, I think we've covered almost everything that I wanted to cover this live stream. I don't know about you, but I'm excited about season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Oh. Yeah, Marie says, Game of Theories with Marie said that she thought they looked odd on the throne. I actually had just to say one thing about that is when I was going through all the pictures of them on the throne, because I was sort of like just swiping them left and going through it, I realized that they were actually cut out and then stuck on the throne. So the throne is a static image, and then obviously they've done a photo shoot somewhere else. So it does look weird when you go through. But one of the things that Asen pointed out to me is that Tyrion's hand is missing. Did anyone notice that? Like in the photo shoot of Tyrion on the throne, like his hand's just completely gone.
Yeah, that was kind of I'm glad that we actually got the pictures we got today, because that was one of the things we were going to cover, and I didn't think that really from that was a good enough example of the costumes that we got from today.
Yeah, but his one of his looks that he has from the still photos is again one of my favorite costumes. I tend to, like, everyone always goes is crazy about the women's costumes. I tend to sometimes really love the men's costumes. They tend to be more the things that I love. They get overlooked. I think what it is for me is there's just as much work that goes into them. Mm-hmm. Much love and care and breakdown and thought that goes into them, but because they're not beautiful, let's say like Sansa's gowns, or like Marjorie Tyrell or Sansa, like those guys get all, when it comes to cosplay, those guys get all the love, right? Everyone wants to reproduce those ones.
Well, I think if you ask the men, they would say just the opposite. They notice the women's costumes.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So
let's do a quick survey.
Sure.
In the chat, all the guys, do you notice the girls' costumes more, or do you notice the guys' costumes more? And then same thing for the ladies.
Oh, I didn't notice. Oh, they're talking about other stuff.
Well, that's normal. That's you got to remember they're 8 seconds behind us. So
I wasn't too crazy about how Photoshopped they were. That's why these Entertainment Weekly, and by the way, I have to say, I always give them such big props. They do such a good job. They've been doing, I don't know if they did season 1, but they've done exclusive photos every year, and they've done an amazing job, I think. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think that I don't know if it was because the posters were rushed, but they did feel like not that great. They're all wearing winter clothes. John says he didn't notice either. Okay, so you guys are going to tell us. Oh, wait. I noticed the girls' costumes first, but I don't know any more. But you're right, AU. Is OTDA a guy?
Yep, that's David Adams, and he's always right.
You're right. By the way, did everybody agree with me about the Alexander McQueen thing? And I said that I'm for certain correct on.
We knew that you were right there too.
I'm not often right, and especially in my but that one, I feel pretty confident that I'm right on that one. I noticed Missandei. Yes. Okay. Well, she's beautiful. How can you not notice her?
Even when she's not wearing a costume, right?
I'm not talking about the actor, guys. Okay. Maybe I'm just the one who notices. Anyway, so what I'm saying about is, like, one of the things that I love, we were talking about The Alienist, which is such a fantastic show. The costumes are amazing in that. And if anybody hasn't seen it, you should check it out. It's on Netflix. The costumes were done by the same costume designer as Star Wars, like the newer trilogies. And what I love the most that he's done is he did Blade Runner as well. Like that was like his first movie. He was a co-designer.
Nice.
So he's a fantastic designer. But like, for instance, one of the shows I really loved was the Frankenstein Chronicles, and the costumes in that, because everything is like filthy, dirty, and broken down, and like super well worn. It's like people are living in poverty, like abject poverty. And who's the crazy lady who lives up in the Vale? She's in it. Kate, the actor Kate something or others in it.
Liza Aaron.
Liza Aaron, the actress who plays her Kate, she's in it. She's actually in The Alienist too. She's in The Alienist,
Yep.
and she's in the Frankenstein Chronicles, and she kind of plays the same character, like a real down and out kind of like. I think in The Alienist she plays like maybe a prostitute or someone who runs a brothel or something.
In The
But
Alienist, or
and The Alienist,
yeah, I
she's a
don't remember.
bad character in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, she's she's kind of a victim of circumstance. Whereas in Frankenstein Chronicles, she's actually somebody who smuggles dead bodies. Like, so she's an interesting character in that one too.
Grave robber, huh?
She's an amazing like character actor.
Yeah, she was in the last Prometheus. That's what it was called.
Oh, Prometheus, yes.
It was one of the pilots.
And The Witch, if anybody's seen that. She's fantastic. The
Oh,
Witch.
yes.
That movie terrified me. Oh
yeah.
my gosh.
That was a really strange movie.
So scary. And then I just saw Hereditary, which again is just like, oh my gosh, it's terrifying. So but yeah, she's just a wonderful actor. But like I was saying, so the costumes there, you know, you don't realize how much work goes into, like, Michelle has a team of like 20 people doing breakdown, you know, alone. Like, and then she's got dyers and painters and, you know, props makers and armor makers, and just, it's an incredible, I think I was reading something that's like a couple of hundred people are working on that. Wow. So the men's costumes, I don't think that they tend to get as much love, but oh yeah, Marie says The Alienist is good. But she's going to be on our thumbs up list then. Gary says that John Bean dies. Spoiler. Oh my gosh, there was John, there was this tweet the other day. It was so funny. Someone, I don't know if it was under one of your comments, but someone wrote, "Hey, I've decided to start watching Game of Thrones. I hear Sean Bean is so great in it. I can't wait to see how he does over the next 7 seasons."
That wasn't mine.
I was like, that's so awesome. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I know it's hard now because every time I go to watch a show with him, I'm like, is he going to make it?
Yeah. I think the Medici was the last one we were talking about.
Survive?
No, he's on. Sean Bean is on.
He's still alive though?
Well, this is his first season, so okay. maybe it's over. So
yeah, no, I know, because the Frankenstein Chronicles. Well, I won't tell you what happened, but I was like, Grace says Michelle Clapton is her hero. That's nice.
We don't need Sherlock Holmes for that one, do we? To figure out what happened to Sean Bean. No,
it's it was pretty funny. I kind of laughed, but luckily they had the second season there immediately. So I was like, oh, okay. Because I was like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. So anyway, yeah, poor Sean Bean. But he's in one of my favorite movies, The Island. I don't know if he dies in that. I think he does.
The Island? Which one was that?
Yeah, it's really crazy. It's a science fiction movie. I'm a big sci-fi person, right? Mm-hmm. So it's about Scarlett Johansson's in it, and Ewan McGregor, and basically
yes, yes, I remember.
He runs the operation. He's like the the overseer, maybe the owner of the operation, right? And then these clones are used for body parts.
That's got to be the most underrated show or a movie, I should say, ever. Right?
I love it. Actually, I talked about it in my my Westworld video, because there's a scene in Westworld that I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks just like The Island. Like the way you've got like the stark light, like in the hub where they are, it's a lot like the Island. So I sort of talk about that, how I compare it to the Westworld hub, and then also it reminded me a little bit of what is it? Logan's Run. If you've ever seen Logan's Run, which is my favorite sci-fi movies of all time. You guys can make fun of me about that if you want, but
not at all.
I love it. And the costumes in it are just, kitschy kind of, like it's sort of like Roman, but with a 70s sort of twist to it, like sort of kitschy sci-fi, if that makes sense. It's a great movie. And Michael York is in it. So you can't not like something like Michael York.
Yeah, exactly. That, like I said, good stuff.
Yeah.
Plexi asked about, she says, we hear so much about US and British costume dramas. What are your favorite Canadian costume dramas?
Oh, I don't like anything. Well, I was going to say probably Anna Green Gables. To be honest with you, I haven't watched the series, but it's really good, and the costumes are really good in it. And the other one that I'm going to watch that I haven't watched yet, which I think looks fantastic, is The Terror. Has anybody seen that movie? That show? That's shot in Canada, and it's about the Franklin expedition. I have a friend who lives up there. So there was these guys that got landlocked. Like they
What was
basically
it called again?
The Terror
Oh
is the name
yes,
of the
yes.
ship. So I
Um,
so that's a Canadian
Mance
show.
Raider, the guy that was Mance Raider, is the captain.
Yeah, and he's in Rome as well because somebody told me to watch Rome, and I noticed he's in everything.
Mm-hmm.
He's amazing. Yeah, so he plays the captain, right? So that's a
Right.
Canadian. So definitely the costumes in that I think are fantastic. The Handmaid's Tale is not Canadian, but it's shot in Toronto. So that's another really great one. And also American Gods is shot in Toronto. My friend's working on it. So that's another great show that I adore the costumes on. But no, it's true. Americans do get a lot of attention on their shows. And Canadian shows don't get a lot. There's a girl that I went to school with that works on Murdoch Mysteries. I'm not a big fan of the show, but it's got a huge following. Do you guys know that, Murdoch Mysteries?
Nope, don't know that one.
It's supposed to be like, it's kind of cute. It's on Netflix. It's basically, it takes place like turn of the century, and it's like a detective show.
Gotcha.
So the guy is so you got sort of the Bobby type uniforms, kind of like the Alienists, like the same type of style uniform. And he's sort of like a Sherlock Holmes, but a Canadian Sherlock Holmes.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, but I think that was a great question. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. I figured you would know the answer to that one.
But honestly, like this is terrible, but I don't tend to watch Canadian shows. You know why? Because we don't have the budget. Like Canadian shows tend to have like a tenth the budget than American shows do. Oh, the other one that's apparently is good I have watched is Frontier with Moa. So that's Canadian.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of about what do you call them? They would be they'd be the frontier, I guess, like, sort of that, I guess it would be like 1800s.
Fur traders, right?
Fur traders, like beaver pelt traders.
Mm-hmm.
So the costumes on that actually, they're not that, I don't think they're super historically accurate, but I enjoyed the show. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, you have all the military from the British, so that's dead on.
I thought that was good. I just more like the women, some of the women's stuff. I was like, I don't know if they would have worn that. Like,
I saw that at Target last week.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of those people who I always say that somebody doesn't have to be completely historically accurate for me to enjoy it. I'm not one of those people. There are people who are more historians. Like, I'm not a historian, so I don't go, oh my God, this is just, I can't even look at this. I'm not like that. And I oftentimes give a lot of leeway for that. If it's a good story and they're telling it and they're doing a good job of it, and they're showing the character through their costumes and are being true to it, then I have no problem with it. I mean, I think the reason why I had more of a problem with the show like Rain was just because they basically bought like clothes online and then just put them on the characters, and it didn't really have a design to it. It just
with an English accent.
Yeah, it's funny because
their clothes were off most of the time anyways, right?
Were they? See, I didn't even watch it. I couldn't watch it.
I don't, I didn't watch it at all.
It's kind of like a teen. It was kind of like a little bit like a Beverly Hills 90210 kind of, or maybe
geared for us.
Or like a Gossip Girl. It's kind of like a Gossip Girl. Whereas I felt like The 100, even though the first season they were kind of dealing with all the the love triangles, they found their groove and they did a pretty good job of it in the science fiction realm, and the costumes. I thought the costumes were really good on that show. So I know a lot of people are big Expanse fans. So I did that show is also shot in Toronto, but it's not technically a Canadian show.
Mm-hmm.
They just they shoot here because it's cheaper here, right? Because of our tax.
Exactly.
Yeah, the exchange rate, and then because of our taxes. So that's why they shoot here. It's not because I think that's the main reason why they do it. And I know like people like Arnold Schwarzenegger don't like it because then a lot of the American crews lose out and so on. So
Yeah, they used to shoot a lot in here in Seattle and Portland, but
yeah.
because of the taxes, it just doesn't make sense. Vancouver is a much better option, or
Someone,
other provinces.
someone just did a picture of, I don't know who she said fixed it. She took out Jon Snow out of the picture for some reason. I wonder why. And then she put oh, you know what she did? She took him out of the middle. So I don't know if you guys can see this. So she took John out of the next to Danny, and then she moved him to the middle. I guess she feels that he should be in the center of the shot. You guys agree with that? Can you see that? Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. She goes, fixed it. I'm gonna retweet that.
Too funny.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I made that actually my banner. You saw that, hey?
Exactly. That was amazing. I was glad that
well, they've never done that before. So I was really, really happy to see that they're doing that. They've never done, I don't think they've ever done a group shot like that. Can you guys recall if they've ever done that?
offset, yes. Onset, no.
Yeah.
Not with that many of them.
It was amazing.
The last year, so.
Last year, so it was nice that they were able to get them all together to do that and all in costume and without them like, you know, sweating to death. And this is too funny. And, you know, I'm laughing, says Marie. She says it.
I wanted to thank Meridian Mormont, who is from South Africa, and she is just a great supporter. So thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Everybody that's in the chat, I am so grateful for. Luke from Drinks and Knows Things, Marie, of course, from Game of Theories with Marie. Zena Faye is here. Mara Jade Starwalker is here. Britt the Change has been here the whole time. Thank you so much. Tolkas 420. I get a kick out of that name every time I read it. Thanks for being here. Plexi Bertrand, the ultimate mod. She's doing a great job. OTDA is here also, who's a fantastic mod. Thanks for being here. Sonny Frank from Florida, thanks for being here as well. And Kolnitsky, yeah, that's another name I wanted to say hello to. Thanks for being here as well. I really appreciate it. Would you like to say what's coming up as far as your channel goes?
Sure. So I have the top 20 best men's costumes coming up of Game of Thrones that I'm doing with Aaron and Tatiana. We've been working on it for 4 months. I don't mean that it's going to be, you know, like a video that we've worked on for 4 months. It's just that's how long it's taken us to get to the end. So they're helping me with that. And then after that, we'll do we're going to do the best armor of Game of Thrones. So that'll be really, really fun. So I have that coming up hopefully this week. It'll be out. And like I said, I have my book, which I'm still working on. So I'm hoping to have that sometime like mid-April as an ebook that I'll be selling through my website. So I'll probably, and the third, sorry, one more thing. I'm going to be doing, during this Game of Thrones season, I'm going to be doing a show called Game of Queens. So what it will be a live show on my channel about, like we'll probably do it on the Monday after the show airs. And it'll be kind of like, a red carpet, you know, analysis where the three of us, we're going to be wearing crowns and drinking goblets of wine and talking about the costumes, sort of like, you know, picking up, what's her name's torch from the red carpet. Guys, sorry, I can't remember anything right now.
Don't you hate when that happens?
You know, like Hollywood's red carpet. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's the name? Fashion Police. Fashion Police. That's it.
Oh.
With oh, I can't remember her name. You guys know she's a comedian and she passed away.
Yeah.
So that's what it's going to be. So it's going to be really fun with Aaron and
Joan
Tatiana.
Rivers.
Joan Rivers, yes. And we're going to be wearing crowns. I'm going to be. They told me I have to be the Queen of Thorns because I'm the old one. So I have to be the Queen of Thorns. I know I was a little bit unhappy with the two of them, but you know, there are a couple of young people. So, you know, anybody over 35 is a senior citizen. or something. But I did get a beautiful crown. I should have had it to show you. I got it from Amazon, and so I've got my crown all ready to go.
I thought you were going to say you got it from Target, but that would have been too funny.
Canada. We don't have Target anymore. I know. I was really upset. I love Target. I would buy all my pajamas there. I still have a pair of pajamas from Target.
Do you really?
Yeah. I do. They're super soft. I've washed them. I'm surprised they haven't fallen apart. They're actually. Oh, Marie says I'm young. So yeah. So I have to be the queen. I have to be the Queen of Thorns, and Tatiana says she gets to be Marjorie. And I don't know who Aaron's going to be. He's a guy, but so he'll
awkward.
Yeah, I told him he could be whatever he wants. He could be a male or a female. He could be whoever he wants. So
I'm not going to say a word.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave it up to the two of them. And Tatiana designed the logo, so Jack's working on that, and we're doing theme music ourselves. So I've put Aaron in charge of the music, and I'm in charge of the wine sponsor. So that's what's going to be coming up for the season. So
we could just your priorities, right?
It could be a terrible, terrible disaster. But hopefully, even if it's a train wreck, you guys will tune in. If it's a dumpster fire, just tune in to see.
Definitely get some trash in there.
It's the final season. We decided we need to do something really fun. And last year, I just, I made videos and uploaded them. And I thought, hey, it's the final season. There's only 6 episodes. We've got to go out with a bang. So
that's why I'm doing this.
Absolutely. So, you're hunkering down, you're doing the 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And at the end of it, do you get a medal? Do you get a reward?
I get the reward of being on with you.
I'm going to send you something. I'm going to send you a medal. I might even send you a tiara from Amazon, like the one I got. It's just full of jewels. And
you're going to have to find a Target somewhere.
Do they drop ship? I don't even know.
I'm just making fun of Target because they're not my sponsor.
No, I know. Yeah. No, I know. Do you even have a sponsor?
No. Target's not going to be one of them. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I'm still working on the wine sponsor. I'm waiting to hear back. So, but I just figured it would be appropriate given Cersei, she drinks wine out of a goblet. And, I just thought it would be kind of fun to have a wine sponsor.
Definitely.
So hopefully by the end of the episode, we're not all on the floor. Because I've never actually drank during my live stream, so I don't even know what would happen.
It's funny because there's a channel for Luke from a channel called Drinks and Knows Things. So that's their live stream. They actually talk about what their beverage of the night is and discuss all kinds of wonderful topics. Right, Luke?
Oh, Brit's asking if she can be your sponsor. So how long does the episode go? How long is he drinking for? This is the thing, right?
I think most of them are around 3.5 hours.
Oh, he's drinking for 3 hours?
So it's pretty toasty.
Wow. Because there used to be this guy that used to do YouTube where he would drink before the episode, and then he would just talk about all kinds of stuff and going on in the world. I think he was like an intern or something. And so he would get very, very saucy and very surly in his delivery. So yeah. So the only thing with red wine though is it leaves like a mark around your mouth.
That would be bad.
Yeah, that'd be kind of bad. So you'd have to keep some wet ones or something.
Meridian Mormont says this is sponsored by Davos the leopard. She's a veterinarian at an animal preserve in Africa. So yeah.
That is awesome.
If you go to Facebook and look at her channel, she has she is the mother of hyenas, actually, what we tease her.
John's being naughty again. John with no H.
Mr. Haymaker. Oh, too funny.
He's being naughty. John, you're welcome to come over to my Game of Queens live stream when we do that once the new season comes out and see the train wreck dumpster fire that's going to happen. No, it'll be good. It'll be good because what it will be, I figure it'll be fun because it'll just be like we won't have a lot of time to sort of analyze the costume, so it'll be just like the first thing that comes off the top of our heads, which might be a little bit. And also, Aaron and Tatiana and I tend to all have different ideas about things, so I just thought it would be
at the same time.
Yeah, we tend to have different ideas, so we'll just be like Tatiana had to convince me that that Marjorie's costume that she wore when she at the her last episode when the ground see I'm losing my mind here the house of Baylor Cersei's trial that she doesn't show up to and then she sets the whole place up on fire.
Oh, the Septa Baylor.
Septa Baylor, thank you. Oh my Lord, I gotta go.
I know 2 hours is your limit. That's
it is. I start to, if I don't have any snacks.
We've been on for 4.5, so that's why.
Yeah, I just went on a live stream for like over 5 hours, and I didn't have any snacks or chocolate bars or anything.
Oh my gosh!
So the next time, I luckily I raided my kids' candy from Halloween, and they had all those little mini chocolate bars. So I stole a bunch of those, and I had them just to keep and it really helped because I was just like, oh my gosh, I need brain food.
Oh, that's so
you guys
funny.
don't even know. John says spitting into wine buckets grosses me out. Well, no, we're not going to be spitting. It's not that kind of show.
He was trying to recover from his other inappropriate comments.
I was pretending like I didn't see that.
We know.
Comment.
We know.
But so her dress that she wore, I hated it when I first saw it, but Tatiana brought me around to it. It took her like 2 hours to sort of get me into liking it. So I can be wooed. I can be won over. Why don't you tell us what you have coming up?
Well, I have Johnny Be Crazy tomorrow. Marie, who is from Game of Theories with Marie, I've been begging her to be on my channel for the last, I don't know, ever since I had a channel. I think August of 2016 was when I started. So yeah, pretty much the whole time. And she'll be on, I believe, Friday. I'm sorry?
Started my channel, I think it was in 2016 as well. So we're like YouTube twins.
Except you're so much more successful.
Oh no, that's not true.
Let's just put it to seriousness. And then we've got quite a few creators that are coming up, including Gemma from Secrets of the Citadel. Thursday I'll have Kyle from Azora Hype, and Gray Area will be on.
Yeah, all-star cast happening here.
Yeah, there's a few that that haven't agreed to a specific time yet, but which has made me kind of be a little more flexible with others. But I'm glad to do this and I'm just so humbled to do it and be able to. Actually, Don Willie is still on YouTube, but not very often. He hasn't been doing his Thursday live streams like he used to, but he might come on. We'll see. And then, so we're just going to keep going every night until somebody drops dead.
Well, I look forward to seeing Marie because I've seen her around quite a bit, but I've never actually seen her on your show. So that'll be really fun to see her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to every single day just to talk about different aspects of it. Like I said, everybody has their own specialty. So like we even have a newer YouTuber that just started where she's doing the recipes from Game of Thrones.
Oh, that's awesome.
And actually showing us the cooking process and everything. So that's really cool. So, I mean, there is a limitation to the talent pool. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, the food in Game of Thrones is amazing. That'll be very cool. There's actually a channel that I really enjoy. It's I think it's kind of like they own a store in the States, and I think everything is based on the 1800s. So they're clothing and everything, but they do all these recipes like that they find and they make them. And it's very cool. And then they try to prepare them in the way that they would have been made. So
Yep.
that's a very, very cool thing, I think.
Yeah, there's a few of those types of channels that I follow on YouTube. So yeah, cool. But probably the same one.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. Well, you know, because a lot of YouTubers, they watch the typical, you know, PewDiePie, or I don't tend to watch that type of stuff. I tend to
Me
be
either.
more into, yeah, historical stuff or sciencey stuff. Jack loves that type of thing. He's always watching a video on Hackintoshes or something. So that ends up in our feed. But I like a lot of the science ones, and of course I watch stuff on Game of Thrones and that too. Of course I do.
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
Because it's like Gemma, she's like, I like to do other things in my personal time. It's not just like Game of Thrones. I like to do other things. I have other interests, you know. She was saying, I saw her interview. I think she was on Kyle's show. She was
Yeah, I like
talking
her
about
channel Too Wordy because she does the actual book creation process. I love that. So
yeah, so that's really great that you're gonna have her. She's awesome.
hmm
Nice to see other female creators. Obviously we love our male creators, but I like seeing more women doing YouTube. I made a comment about this recently. You know, we were talking about Nick Nimmin earlier. I made a comment about there's not as many women creators, and he was like, really? And I'm like, no, there isn't. Like it's predominantly men. So it's nice to see more female creators out in the YouTubes.
Yeah, Gray Area is probably
Yeah.
one of the ones that I follow. I think I was her 301st subscriber.
So you've been
And
with her for a long time, and she's doing well. She's over 100,000 or something, I think.
yeah,
right?
she's almost 110 right now. But the point is, it's just I love her. You know, I love her creation, and it's been fun. So I agree with you. I think there isn't enough female creators. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because
Daryl
like,
Galt is here from Florida. Hello. Thanks for
hello.
being here. Awesome. Glad you're here.
Well,
Danny
like,
McKay is new to the stream as well. Sorry,
is
didn't
he?
mean to cut you off.
Oh no.
Mhm.
He says Gray and Gemma are top shelf. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, Justin's channel is called Top Shelf.
Yep.
Top Shelf
Top Shelf
Fandom.
Fandom.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to be doing his show actually he's going to be doing something interesting. He's going to be doing Lord of the Rings. Like he's going to do a comparison between Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones. And so we're going to talk about the costumes. So I have to actually study up a bit on Lord of the Rings. I mean, I know of it, but it's like it's such an enormous.
He started that with Robert from
Robert. Yeah. So he asked me to come on and talk about the costumes, the comparison of the costumes. So I've been wanting to do a series on Lord of the Rings, but I said I will not do it unless I have someone to collab with. So, and it would have to be after Game of Thrones because it would just be such an enormous undertaking, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, there's well, it'd be like 6 movies, I think. Well, if it just
one of the things that is available is the director's cut of the Lord of the Rings, which gives a lot of the Weta workshop creation process, including the costume design.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think it's probably the most valuable tool that you have available to you.
Well, I have all the. Sorry, which one is it? The Blu-ray? Because I have all the Lord of the Rings.
Not the Blu-ray, the director's cut.
Oh, the director's cut.
Yeah, and it looks like a book, and then you open it up, and it's got 6 CDs.
Oh, okay.
3 of them are the movie, 3 of them are the extra information. Yeah.
Yeah, because when I did my Blade Runner movies, I had the director's cut of that, or I had this full-on.
I'm sorry, it's the extended edition, not the director's cut. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Luke.
Extended edition. Oh, drinks and knows things. Knows things. What are you drinking?
No, he's at work, so.
Oh, he is. Okay.
Yeah.
No drinking tonight, but he still knows things. Or is it like the idea that Tyrion is kind of like it's when he drinks that he knows things? Because you know how some people like they don't, you know, their brilliance doesn't come out until they've had some kind of libation. So some people are like that. So, or is it just you know, drinks, knows things?
No, he knows everything, so it doesn't matter whether he's drinking or not. So
Yeah. So that's a very cool channel name, by the way. I love that name.
Mm-hmm.
It's very fun. So, so you're going to have 30 days of interviews, and then
Yep.
what are you planning after that? What are you going to be doing during this season? Like
Before this
Robert
is,
posted his schedule, for gosh sakes, because he's so like organized. Have you
yeah, I'm
noticed
not
that?
that organized. I do have 2 videos coming out. One of them is the origin of Winterfell. It'll explain, why you have to have a Stark in Winterfell. It'll give you the history before Winterfell was created, why the Night King's coming back. It goes over all of that. So all of the cliche sayings, winter is coming, why they call it Winterfell, all of that'll be answered in that video. So,
Awesome video.
yep. And that'll be out before the end of this 30 days. So
Yeah. So you're gonna do, yeah. Well, hopefully from this, so you'll pick up some new, some fresh, eyes.
well, that's not the goal. The goal is to, have fun, talk about the show, and get everybody that I know excited. So, Luke says, just check is in the mail.
Yeah, yeah. Now,
You're funny.
once the show's on, what are you planning on doing?
Well, there's so much I cover. I do, Westworld, Star Wars,
Mhm.
Game of Thrones, of course, anything the prequel. They will have the 2 books out, Fire and Blood.
Yeah.
Plus, I collab with so many other people that I never have enough to do. So
No, I mean, John, sorry. I mean, during, sorry, I said that wrong. During the Game of Thrones season, what are you planning on doing? Are you going to?
nothing special, just the episode breakdown, and
Oh, okay.
probably I'll be on every other live stream
Sure.
out there. So
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy busy.
Tony Teflon's going to have a live stream every pre-show, so it'll be
Mhm.
fun to do that.
I'll be recovering from my. I'll be no.
Queens.
I'm gonna still have to work, right? This is the thing. I'm gonna still have to work, so it's gonna be like last year was crazy. I said I will not do that again. It was just too much, and I mean, it was just too much of a crazy schedule. So this year, like I said, I'm gonna do my my Project Runway type show, my Game of Queens show, and I think that would be good. And if someone wants to hear, if someone wants to talk to me, they're welcome to invite me on.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's
How
always
cool is
easier.
that?
It's always easier for me to be a guest. Like I don't have to. It's not as. Yeah. Oh, Marie, what were you laughing about? I'm just being silly tonight here. See, this is just me naturally. So imagine me with wine in me.
It'll be
That
so
might
much
not
fun.
be a good idea.
Make sure Jack is in the room.
I'll
That's all I got to
just
say.
the alcoholized wine, or grape juice. Maybe I'll just have grape juice.
Make it look like wine.
Make it look like wine. Yeah. No, I'll have a little bit of wine. I can have a little bit of wine. It should be fine. I think it should be fine.
White line, light wine. Is that what you
Like
call
rosé.
it?
Rosé. You know what I do with my mother, my 83-year-old
Add
mother?
some Sprint.
Yeah, what I do with my mother, my 83-year-old mother, I put a bit of Perrier in it. I go, Mom, do you want a glass of wine? Yes, please. So I just cut it with some Perrier. There you go, Mom. She doesn't notice.
The senior version. Oh, that's
Version of
funny.
wine. It was my sister's idea. My sister's she's got all these little things. Like one of the things my sister won't let me get my mother anymore are live plants. She told me that I'm forbidden from buying my mom live plants. So I now have to get my mom fake plants and just pretend that they're live. Like, here you go, Mom. I bought you some tulips. Oh, they're beautiful. And then she never has to worry about watering them or.
They stay bloomed all year long.
I bought these hydrangeas last year, and they still look as fresh as the day they were picked.
Oh my goodness. That's
Oh, my mom
hilarious.
is the cutest. She's going to come over next week, and we're going to finish watching Outlander. And last time
That
she
poor
was here,
lady.
last time she was here, we binge watched Upstairs, Downstairs. Like she wouldn't even go to bed. I said, "Okay, Mom, it's 10. Do you want to get ready for bed?" No, I want to watch another episode. I'm like, okay. She like binged watched like 7 seasons of Upstairs, Downstairs or something like that. But I'm like, you know what? Like if you're like want to binge watch in your 80s, you should be able to binge watch.
Oh, sure.
No? Like who am I to tell her not to watch that? Okay, guys. So it's probably time for me to go to bed.
Well,
This
thank you
is
so much, Heidi. I
so
really appreciate you being
fun.
here.
Oh my gosh, AU, and I'm going to have you on my show. I would love
Anytime.
you to come on. And, thank you so much for having me on. It's been so nice getting to know you. I think I met
Absolutely.
you through Justin, actually.
Absolutely. Yeah, we met through Justin, and
Yeah.
then on Robert's channel we were there together, and I've been on your channel a couple times. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that YouTube has built up over the years, is a lot of friendships, and I definitely count you as one of them. So I
Oh,
really
you too.
appreciate it.
Lovely person.
Well, thank
And I
you.
was actually I was talking about you earlier to my husband, just saying that you're always like on your show. You're always so calm and relaxed and such a gracious, lovely host to your guests. So thank you
I
so
fooled
much.
you. I
No, you
fooled you.
didn't. You're the real deal. You're the real deal.
I
Honestly. And
appreciate
your
it.
wife is very lucky. And I'm sure you're lucky to have her too, though.
Well, that's really nice of you to say, because that's exactly what I strive for, is to make everybody feel comfortable, make everybody have a good time, and really get to enjoy each other's company, and go from there. So
Yeah,
thank you so much for that, Heidi.
everyone in the chat, thanks so much. All my old friends and my new friends. John, you're my new friend now, okay?
Perfect.
John Baker. I want
John,
him to, you'll have to come over to my live stream when I do my Game of Queens. But
yeah.
you'll have to be careful with the comments, because I have two young people in their 20s on the show, so
Well,
they're
thanks
innocent.
everybody for we don't want to ruin their innocence, right?
I don't want to ruin their, I'm actually, they're not innocents at all.
Uh, well, they're in their 20s, so
They're
yeah.
in their 20s, exactly.
Thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate it. All of you have stuck around for the whole time. I really appreciate it coming by. That's awesome. And I hope to see you tomorrow, where we'll have Johnny Be Crazy and continue the next of the 30-day live streams. So in the meantime, you guys have a great night.
Bye, everyone.